Hello, welcome to my car. As you can probably guess by the video title, this one's going to get into some emotional territory, some very, I don't want to say controversial, but like sensitive. It's going to get into some very sensitive territory, the kind of thing that affects pretty much every living person. We're going to talk about suicide, suicidal thoughts, and depression. And in my case, a lot of these thoughts and feelings have been there since I was a child. And I believe it's because my parents were just never there for me. I could never talk to them about anything. Every time I try, it would go like it's going this time. They just deny the truth, insist on their lies, and don't listen. And then they punish me. When I was living under their roof, they would hit me until I cried if I did the wrong thing. And, there's no one you can talk to about that. Those were my parents. Their advice was pray to God. And so, I repress it in my own head, basically. That's what that is. Because God's not helping me deal with those issues. God's not making my parents any better. My parents are still being as shitty and expecting me to just accept them for it. And I did. And that was my mistake. But like, I didn't have options. They took away my options, and they chose what was bad for me and forced it on me. The thing is, that didn't really like click. It's still, I'm still wrapping my head around how much they failed me. And that's kind of the context for this notebook that I have. This is a notebook that I bought while I was at Granny's. It's so hard to explain for people who don't, know the story already. But to do a quick version from the start, parents raised us Christian, beat us into accepting their lies. Their lies are unfounded and harmful, dangerous to believe. But they hit me until I cried, forced me to accept it, sent me to a brainwashing camp, scared me to death, scared me for my mortal life, scared me for my immortal life, and used that threat of death and violence to make me do whatever they wanted, even though it was bad for me. And every time I tried to talk to them about it, they would shut me down. They would insist at God that they knew better. And if they had to, they'd enforce it with violence. And there were multiple occasions when, major life events would happen that I would try to talk to them. One in particular was moving from my childhood home with my friends that I had grown up with. So even from an early age, I was kind of in the habit of writing and reading. In school, I was a smart kid, and I was often bored. So I would write in my notebooks. And I kind of just got into that habit, and life got harder and my parents weren't there, or were there making it worse. I didn't have anyone else to talk to, so I would write in journals. And Mom has even found some of my disturbing writings. She still doesn't quite get it. She almost does, but she doesn't quite. And she's told me she's scared of me, which is really fucking ironic. Like, I am the way you made me. I tried to be better and you beat me until I wasn't. So I'm sorry that you're afraid of what you made. I am trying to be better. I am trying to deprogram the monstrous habits that you beat into me. But it is slow going. So, yeah. Losing those friends at that age was really hard. I didn't have any other friends after the move. I made some friends, but we were only there for a couple years. We moved again. And then, I had to give up on those friends and start making new friends. And then I went to college. And then after college, I reconnected with the friends that I made after the move. And my personal theory on this, even though we were only there for 2 years, is that I bonded with them more closely because I was younger and because I was more vulnerable. I was really like ripped open after the move and I just needed, help. And those friends are still the ones that I want to get back to today. The original ones from my childhood, we diverged too much. I have tried to contact one of them, but it's not, obviously it's not the same, but it's not even, it's like we're different people. And I do hope that we can, have a similar friendship to what we had when we were kids someday. But I think he just has his own life now, and I don't want to jeopardize that or put any pressure on that in any way. So mostly I just left him alone. But I'm still in loose contact with the people, the second group of friends that I was only there for with 2 years. During those 2 years, they would often invite me to go with them out to the country where their granny lived. And out there, we just had like less parental supervision. And I don't mean that as like, oh, man, we got to do whatever we wanted and it was like an endless party. No, No, like, we just got to relax. We got to be ourselves without being fucking judged and without worrying about people hitting us for, touching the wrong thing, for leaving something unlocked, for, whatever. And so that property, grannies, and the whole family and getting out there and everything was very important to me. It was the family that I was missing. And moving away from them hurt. We've tried to make several things work over the years. After I graduated college, I moved in with them, and we spent some time trying to like either get game projects going, and I was working different jobs, not sure at all what I was doing with my life. And I was still living the way that my parents had programmed me. So I was still being a really shitty, terrible person to my friends and to myself. And that's a large part of why nothing that we tried worked, is the abusive habits that I had were sabotaging us. When we all moved in, when I got a house, I was like, oh, okay, well, this will be fine because now I'm in control. I can fix all the things that, they wouldn't do right. And we all moved into my house, and it didn't work out at all. My expectations were unreasonable, and we weren't great at communicating. I was especially bad at listening, exactly like my parents. And so I shut my friends down when they waved their red flags and tried to tell me, hey, this isn't right. What are you doing? I shut them down and said, what do you mean? I know what I'm doing. My assumptions are correct. I know the truth better than you. And I just wouldn't even listen. Like, I wouldn't even entertain what they were saying. I just so sure that I knew better. I think there's a fly in here. I'll try to let it out at some point. But yeah, my friends tried to talk to me, and I shut them down, and I pretended like it was their fault and not mine at all. Exactly like my parents are doing. So the house situation didn't work out. I was still miserable, and I couldn't figure out what was happening. I was torn. I was like, is it my friend's fault or not? I can't tell, but this whole situation is just torturing me, so I need them to go. And so I kicked them out. Eventually, I sold the house and moved in with my brother because I didn't have any like backup plans. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for anything to go wrong. I was so sure of myself that like I didn't have a backup plan, which is again exactly like my parents. And so I spent some time living with my brother and his wife, and I was still not a good person at that time. Like I was starting to dig into myself and into what happened and say, how much of it was my fault, how much of it was theirs, how much of it is just bad luck. And, during all that time, of course, I was trying to make a living for myself and like take care of myself, and like, so it was slow going, really digging into kind of the what happened. And it was hard to talk to the people that it happened with, because we were all pretty hurt by it. I don't think anyone understood what we were getting into. No one expected it to go the way that it did. Well, they might have like in the back of their heads, and maybe we all did in the back of our heads. Like, I've been obviously unstable from a young age. And so as much as it hurt for my house situation to go the way that it did, I'm not that surprised looking back, looking at the big picture. I do feel terrible for how I treated my friends. I've been trying to show them more love, lately. And, but yeah, so I was living with my brother and his wife, starting to dig into myself. I had to pay off the roof on the house that I sold, and I felt bad owing my brother money because I had to borrow money from him to pay off the roof, while also living with him. So I moved out of his house and moved into my parents' house. That was kind of like my backup plan, my like safety net, my last resort, really. They're not good people. But at the time I was still not sure. Like I was still doing the digging, and I still hadn't come to the conclusion that, oh wait, they abused me. Like I was still repressing it, and I was still believing their lies to an extent. And so after living with my parents for a while, I got my own apartment again, and things were actually pretty nice there. It was a decent situation. I was playing games with my brother and stuff, hanging out with them. I still hadn't fixed most of my problems. I was still a bad person. A lot of the experiences that we were having together, even though they were positive in ways, they were also negative in ways. And, I would do a lot differently now. And living with my parents, it really didn't help. Yeah, living with my parents didn't help my bad habits. Living on my own didn't help much, because I still hadn't confronted the cause, the source of the issue, and I still wasn't fully I was starting to understand that okay, well, my ego's a problem, but how how did it get this way, and why do I feel the way that I do? Because sometimes I do take things very, very personally. It feels like either the universe itself or the world itself or the people themselves are doing something to punish me or to hurt me specifically. And, that's from my parents. That's from their religion, and that's from the abuse that I suffered. But I carried that into my adult life. And I would treat my friends like that. It's really hard to see that you're the problem when you're the problem. But so I lived on my own in that apartment for a while. I was working a job that I kind of liked, but it wasn't making as much money. And so an opportunity arrived from an old coworker and friend who was offered me his position as he was moving on. And his position was a lot more lucrative. It would, however, require me to move. And I should have said, haha, no. Learning from my childhood experience that being forced to move is terrible. If you're happy where you are, stay there. It's okay. Like, I should have stayed at that apartment where I was happy. But instead, I did what my parents would have done, and I moved away from the good things, chasing some undefined future goal that's supposed to be really good, if I can just ever get there. And I upended my own life like a fucking idiot, and made myself really miserable. And I might have some notebooks that I'll find later, similar to this one, which I'll get to in a second. This is a recent one. I may have more notebooks that I wrote at various apartments along the way. In fact, I know I do. I can remember them. The problem is I don't know where they are. Some might be in storage. Some might actually be with mom in some kind of bin of my childhood memorabilia. I don't know. Some of it may have been thrown out. I'm assuming a lot, or at least some, survived of this, and I'll be able to show it to you later. But it's stuff. A lot of it is like drink logs and things like, oh, today I had this much, today I had this much, because I was viewing it as what the narrative that they were pushing, which is that, well, Mike, alcohol is your problem, addiction is your problem. And I was like, oh, well, that must be right. And so I treated it like that was my battle, and I didn't have any way of winning that battle because I didn't have any reason to live. And that's why this video is going to go pretty heavily into depression and suicidal themes, because the abuse that I suffered as a child made me suicidal as a child, and that never fully went away. There's always part of me that's like, would it be better if I just died? Would it be better if I could never be sad again? If I could never feel this pain again? Wouldn't that be better? And of course, the counter to that is, but then you'll never feel joy again either. And the counter to that is, but I'm not feeling joy anyway. This life has been torturous. And that's how it felt for a long time. It does not feel that way now. I do want to be clear. I'm not suicidal now. In this book, I might have been. There was a period there. But yeah, so, sorry, trying to keep the timeline straight. So from that apartment where I had moved to and upended my own life and made myself miserable, and I was starting to feel suicidal, and I realized I can't keep doing this. I need connections. I need people in my life. That used to make me happy. That's what I used to live for. So I got out of there and I came back up to where I had graduated college. Like, this whole story takes place over several states: Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, just the whole blob of that Midwest area. All these places are in different locations in those places. And a lot of these moves that I talk about were from one state to another, sometimes across multiple state lines. And for those who aren't familiar with the scale, you have to drive for hours and hours. It's crazy long drives to get from one place to another, and that's partly why I haven't checked my storage for these notebooks, because it's a long drive there and back. And so I moved from that apartment to another apartment that was closer to my ex, and that's the ex whose house I'm currently staying in, because that was someone that I could still talk to. I was still on good terms with. It made me happy. Like, my experiences with him made me happy, playing games together and other things that we did together. It was a breath of fresh air. It was like, oh right, this is what living is like. I'd forgotten. At some point, that happiness had gotten so far away that I just started believing that I would never find it again, started believing that it wasn't for me, and I couldn't see a way that it ever would come back. And in a way, it hasn't. I mean, I'm never going to be as happy as I was as that kid growing up. going to the beach and playing video games and riding bike and having wonderful friends in a wonderful school. I'm never going to be that happy again. Even if I had stayed there, I probably wouldn't be as happy as I was when I was that young, you know? But the difference is so stark, you know? Full bright to full dark, it is how it felt. And there is no coming back from that. Like, that's part of why it was so upsetting. I knew for a fact I would never be that happy again, pretty much. Like, now I'm not saying it is a fact, but like, it's a reasonable assumption. It's a realistic expectation. Yeah, I was just really, really hopeless. I was trying to get closer to my ex, and it's still something that I struggle with, getting close to people in general, trusting people in general. But male relationships especially, I'm kind of iffier on. I have a female preference, but like, I don't actually know how much of that is myself and how much of that was beat into me, because like, that's the culture that we grew up in, and that's the religion that I followed for a long time, told us that you'd go to hell if you did anything like that, if you even looked at a guy funny. And like, I do think that that fucked me up a lot, and I think that with some like practice I could get better about it, but that's just not my priority right now. I need to sort through these bigger problems first before I can get close to anyone again, or I'm just gonna hurt them and they're gonna hurt me, and neither of us will understand why. So that's kind of what this is about. And I was starting to have these epiphanies, as I was trying to get close to my ex again, and seeing, what worked from that and what didn't work from that and what I was still missing. That's when I decided to reach back out to the friends who had moved into my house with me to say, hey, where you guys at? Is it okay if I come hang out with you for a while? Because I knew that they were living at Granny's, and I wasn't sure what they thought of me. I wasn't sure if they wanted to see me again. I wasn't sure if they were willing to forgive me for how I treated them. I had no idea. But I wanted to try again, and I asked them if they minded if I stayed for a bit, and they said no. And so I went. And I brought my air mattress, and I brought all my stuff, most of my stuff, all the stuff that I need to do my daily stuff. At this time, I still had the lucrative job that I had upended my life for, and I moved into Granny's, basically. I didn't have like a room there. I was just kind of camping out on my air mattress in the living room. But it was really nice. Granny, someday I think we'll talk more about Granny and her problematic beliefs and actions. But despite all that, she was a loving person, and she was a kind, well, she could be a kind person. And when I was a kid living with my friends for those 2 years and going out to visit Granny on weekends and whatnot, she made me feel like part of the family. And when I told her that we were moving away again for my dad's work, she told me, you can always call me Granny, and we'll always be here. And so this past fall, I moved in at Granny's with those old friends, and with this uncle friend. That's how I keep calling him. Like, he's Granny's son, and he had been out there since, I was a kid. He was always a cool person. He was always very supportive of us kids, always tried to make sure we stayed out of trouble while also not limiting us. That's the balance that these people were so much better at striking than my parents. My parents would just smother and stifle, and if you disagreed, you got hit. They drew a very tight box around us, and they tightened it whenever we protested. There was no room for us to grow. There was no room for us to experiment. There was no room for us to be ourselves. And so Granny's was very freeing. And being with these people again with a renewed mind, now that I'd had some of these realizations and was more willing to put my ego aside and be there for everyone, be there for the place itself even, it was wonderful. I would just go on walks and just enjoy it. Just enjoy the environment and the animals and the fucking wind, the air. It was a beautiful property. And we started talking about, how we want to take care of it. And we bought tools and we started doing yard work. And then Granny got sick. She had been going to the doctor for a while, and they were, trying to help her for a while figure out why she was getting dizzy all the time and having these other issues. And eventually they found that she had leukemia. And one day, while Uncle Friend and I were at the dollar store picking up, whatever water, soda, sandwich stuff we needed, I saw a notebook, and it reminded me of writing in school of, the one person I can talk to that's always there, basically. And I picked it up, figuring, Granny's sick. If ever there was a time to process my feelings, it's now. And it was a hard time in my life. And this is less than a year ago, so you can understand it's still very fresh. But I want to talk about it now, while it's fresh. I think that's the best time to talk about it. I think that's going to have the most impact, and I think this is when it's most fresh in my mind. The details are still right there. People can't hide behind, oh, well, it happened a long time ago. It could have been this or that. Like, no, I was just there. I remember. And I remember what happened when I tried to tell my parents about it. To get through this book, I think might take a few videos. I'm not actually sure. It's a 5-subject notebook. And I filled it. I actually just filled it recently. I wrote these last couple pages, like last week. But before that, the bulk of this was written from like September, maybe from November. Honestly, it might not have been until after Christmas. No, I think it's before. Anyway, there's dates in here. We'll figure it out. But yeah, the bulk of this was written months ago, while I was still at Granny's, and then after leaving Granny's, and why I had to leave Granny's. So there is a lot to chew through in here, and I don't want to rush it. And it's going to be emotional. I'm probably going to be crying a lot, and I'm probably going to have to explain a lot of uncomfortable things that I've written in here. But, I understand myself, I think, better than I ever have. And so I'm hopeful that I can acknowledge the things that are in here and explain why I do or don't still agree with them. And I may not cover every page in here, and I'm still undecided on whether I'm going to like scan it and have a visual component to this, or whether it's just going to be me sitting here and maybe occasionally fading to a page on screen. Because partly I don't know, I feel weird about just putting too much of my handwriting out there in an age when it's easy to plug that shit into an AI. And I definitely don't want to put my signature out there for people to stamp on their checks. And there may be some things in here that I've written about other people that are personal details that they might not want revealed. And, I'm not necessarily going to ask them. I'm just going to assume that they don't, err on the side of caution and try not to reveal too much of someone else's private information, while also giving you enough context to understand what the fuck happened in my life. Tricky tightrope walk, balancing act. For now, the plan is to just go page by page and then piece it together in editing. I don't know how long it's going to take, and I don't know how many videos it'll be. I don't know how many days it'll be. It might be multiple recording sessions. Let's see. Wednesday, January 31st. Been a weird time. I already have therapy and Discord channels to vent and whatnot, but more never hurt, and this one has a bit of a buffer. I have to show it to someone, assuming they're not snooping. Another thing I didn't mention when I was talking about my handwriting is that a lot of it is in cursive, and I use a very sloppy cursive so that people glancing over my shoulder can't actually read what I'm saying. I don't think there's any sensitive information on this page, so I'll show it to you. Been a while since I've written. Glad I still remember how, whether or not anyone can read it. And I put a little smiley face. Well, let's see if I can get this mostly in frame or get some words up close enough for you to see. And it's basically just squiggles, right? Yeah. That's how I learned to write cursive-ish. I can slow down and make it look, more legible, but half the point of writing cursive is get it out fast. And half the point I write in cursive is so that other fuckers can't just look over my shoulder and see my suicidal thoughts. Then they might think I'm crazy. It's weird, too, because I talk in here about having a therapist and Discord channels, and I did. But I mean, no one's perfect, right? My therapist is very kind, and I'll probably even show her this video. I've been sending her some of my stuff. She helped me explore some of this, and she helped kind of get the ball rolling. But then shit hit the fan at Granny's, and I had to leave, and I didn't have to quit my job. I chose to quit my job because I couldn't focus on it because of all this other bullshit. And, without the job, without that health insurance, I don't want to pay for therapy sessions. And at this point, I understood the problems. I was very upset and very hurt, but like I knew what had happened, and I knew that it was just a matter of either finding a way to process and live with it or just finally ending it. And that's kind of where I was at that stage in my life. But I don't think I'm there yet at this point, because at this point I still have the therapist and the Discord thing. And the Discord thing, like, it was my friends. Not the same friends, not IRL friends, online friends. Friends that I mostly met in chats and played some games with and that kind of thing. Friends I thought were more serious, but if this is how they treat their serious friends, I was wrong. I don't want them. Because when I tried to dig into this stuff and tried to talk to them about it and explain, why I was so angry at my mom, they all just assumed that I was, like, wrong, or they assumed that, like, it didn't happen. Like, they didn't even let me explain. They just made their assumptions and then left. And, I don't need that kind of stress when I'm already dealing with this shit. So I just bailed. I just left most of the channels that I was in. I'll probably get back to some of them soonish, or, when I have more room to myself, space to myself, and I can be on my computer more and use my headset more comfortably. I mean, like, I could now, no one's stopping me, but I just worry about, annoying other people either on the call or in the house. And it's fine. I can wait. I don't need that right now. More people, more complications. For now, I have my goals. I have my work. I don't have a job, but I do have work. Right, so I'm glad that I still remember how to write. I want to show the good parts, but I don't always know what's what. I think it's best for now to exercise caution. There will come a time when I have better perspective. Maybe I'll revisit these notes. Maybe not. For context, Granny is dying. And so, like, that's, there's a lot of self-awareness here. Because, I mean, this is what I've been thinking about since I was a kid. Like, it's why I went to Granny's, and then when Granny got sick, it brought a whole lot of new different feelings out. And, I wasn't that close with my real grandparents. I barely got a chance to know them. The thing about my family is my parents, nothing was more important than pleasing my parents. And so when it came to relationships with my grandparents, my cousins, my uncles and aunts, we didn't actually get our own relationships with them. Our relationship with them was purely to prop up my parents. It was to show these family members how great my parents are for raising such sweet little children. We never got to be ourselves. We never got to be honest with them. They basically said they didn't want that. And so to have a family member, even if not blood, that I love and really feel close to, suffering like that and ending like that, I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I didn't know how hard it was going to be, and I didn't know why, but I knew it wasn't going to be easy. And so I just wanted to capture it. I wanted to capture as much of it as I could in this book and figure out what to do with it later. Like, that's the value of being honest, of information. You just store it. You just write it down. You don't have to know right away what it's for. Just write it down if it's true. So by this point, we had the diagnosis. This is January 31st. I believe this is after I had visited my parents, because this past December, I think, I had made a trip down to visit them like we do every year, almost every year. I missed one year, and I'm probably going to miss this year too. But last year I went, I rode with my brother and his wife, and it wasn't great, really. Mom's going through her own things. My little brother's going through some, meltdowns and things, and dad's just delusional, pretending everything is fine. So it was a pretty awkward time, and if I spent too long just hanging out on the porch because I was more comfortable out there, Mom would come out and tell me, you should come back in, you're wasting your time here. Like, Stop telling me what to do. Stop controlling me. Let me be happy, please. Or maybe ask me. Maybe come out and ask me why I'm happier out there than in there with you. Instead, you just make assumptions that being in there would be better. It's not. It's not always. Sometimes it is. Like, I don't want to pretend that we don't have fun or didn't have fun even on that trip. But I also don't want to pretend that they weren't assholes to me. And whenever I tried to bring up, like, this is why I'm uncomfortable, this is why I can't, like, relax around any of you, and this is why weird shit keeps happening when you put pressure on me, they just dismiss it. Like, they don't listen. They just like, right, we know, you're stupid and weird. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, even if that's true, don't you want to know why? Because it's kind of your fault. And they're like, no, it's not our problem. It may be our fault, but it's not our problem. And it's like, yeah, I guess. If you really want to be that selfish, I kind of thought parents were supposed to do the opposite, but that's why I didn't have kids, I guess. I knew I could never give them enough. Home hospice, my first time. Third grandma, only granny. Gonna miss her. Ready for this to be over. So much love, so much pain. Family. Just the word family in a heart. I'm lucky. This world is ugly sometimes. We'll be okay enough. And that's my recognition, you know. Losing Granny was hurting so much because we loved her so much. It doesn't have to be a selfish or a possessive thing like, oh man, I wish she was here to keep taking care of me. It's just like, I wish she was still here. Because I love her. You know, at this point, I said, I'm lucky. And still, I say, I'm lucky. There might be a point in this book where it dips down, and I no longer felt that way for a while, but it came back. I do appreciate what I have again. Because, you know, almost no matter what happens to me from now on, like, I had those experiences. I had those friends. I had the ones that I had when I was a kid, and I had these ones that I've written about. And even if we're not together anymore, and even if we never meet up again, which I hope we do, we did. We shared a lot of time together and a lot of experiences together, and that's history. That's forever. Doesn't feel appropriate to put anything here. Don't want to waste the notebook. 5 whole subjects. Hiding from my mind, hiding from my thoughts, from the pain. Something, distraction. Room, runes, boons. Noise. I think it says noise. Noise, distractions, anything at all. Feels weird to be here again, all the way down, all the way back. A baby again, an infant still. And so I think this was during a very, I'm not sure how to put it, intense depressive episode, I guess, or like a regression. Because sometimes when I would get angry, like, it feels like everything is just falling away. And, like, I don't know how to put it. Like, I'm not thinking of myself as anything. Like, I'm just screaming and flailing and that kind of thing. Like, it's that kind of, like, baby mentality. I don't know really how to put it. But I think you might even be able to see it in some of my gaming videos, like when I get mad and things, and when I start taking losses personally, sometimes I just lash out like a baby. And the reason why, I think, is that shit was never dealt with. The problems that made me upset as a child haven't been solved. My parents still believed the lies. They would repeat their mistakes. They would abuse me all over again. They basically said as much. In fact, they're basically showing me as much. They're denying what they fucking did to me, and they're pretending that they don't have anything to change on their end. They're just waiting for me to bend over and start taking it again, and I'm just not. But I'm also not going to do this. I'm not going to curl up like a baby and cry. And, you know, this was earlier this year, so I'm still getting to this point that I'm describing now. I don't want to curl up like a baby and cry. I don't want to lash out and scream, because I know better. I know that doesn't actually help anything. The purpose of doing things like that is to get somebody's attention. And the people whose attention I was trying to get were my parents. Everyone else that I ever lashed out at, they were just collateral damage. These signals were for my parents. Having figured that out, it's easy. It's easy not to abuse myself. It's easy not to lash out at the people around me. Mom's blocked me, and I think Dad might have as well. It's hard to say. I'm still texting him for now, but he just doesn't reply. But that is so much better. Like, they need to hear it. they don't want to and they're choosing not to, but that's where it needs to go and that's where it's going, and it feels good. I don't have to beat myself up. I don't have to scream and cry. Like, I've told them. They might reject it, but they know. I also get a little dramatic sometimes when I'm writing, because, like, why not? And it's the thought of, again, I don't have to show anyone this if I don't want to. I'll be honest, I've forgotten some of what I've written in here, and I might just include as much of it as I comfortably can, even if I seem uncomfortable when I'm reading it. Just because I think there might be value in it. I don't know. But I do admit that sometimes I get very dramatic in it, like, like, I don't want to say Shakespearean. That gives me way too much credit. But like, oh, woe is me to be such a soul in this poor earth. But like, it is an expression of the unfortunate. Like, I said that I'm lucky on one page, but I also feel incredibly unlucky on another, or like, in another sense. Unlucky to have had the family that I had. Lucky to have had the friends that I had. At every stage of my life, I've had friends there to help. Watching Aquaman. So far, not bad. Good movie to watch together. So, we were doing the home hospice thing, and we had time to kill. We often had to be awake and alert and listening. And so movies and things were good ways to pass the time. And, I think I said, yeah, next page. It was meh. Just fill up the whole page with that. Why not? It was a very big meh, so yeah, it's appropriate. But even like a meh movie, it was fun to watch. Like, it had, action and silliness, and we could talk about this and that, and we could talk over it and not miss much, and it was great. Another beautiful day on the outside, at least. I almost want to do like I don't want to make too much fun of myself or these kinds of thoughts, because I do want to encourage people who are feeling them to express them. But at the same time, because it's me, I kind of want to read back through it with like an emo comb, or be like, another beautiful day on the outside, at least. Like, I know what that can sound like, and that's not what I was going for. This page looks like it has an idea. Inspiration. Idle Game 1. So Idle Game 1 is a game that I play on my phone. I can't recommend it. I don't think most people would like it. It's the classic kind of idle game where, like, you start off with one factory producing one, like, good, and that good makes money, and then you use that money to upgrade that factory, and then eventually you have enough money to buy another factory, and eventually you have a whole, like, line of factories that are upgrading each other, basically. But with this game in particular, it has an RNG mechanic that makes it very tedious to play if you don't pour some money into it. But you might like the first world. Like, I do recommend trying it, at least, if you have any interest in idle games. But for me, at least, there's a point every time where I get where it's just frustrating. But it's an idle game. You just spend more time, you'll get through it eventually. But I've always liked idle games, and I've always been interested in developing my own game, and idle games in particular appeal to me because I feel like they'd be relatively easy to make compared to other games with, like, collisions and, physics, or stories even. And so sometimes I just write down, like, game ideas or notes for things that I don't even ever really plan on working on or finishing, or maybe I will if I get the time, or if it starts to look like a good idea, but mostly I'm just brainstorming, and that's kind of what this page is about. So it just has some words written around, like units, tactile, maybe, tactics. Oh, maybe it says tactics. Units, tactics, auto battler, crawl, looky pokey, hokey pokey. That's a wizard. Okay. And I think that one's saying grar. I think it's a little like barbarian, man. Like, these are just stick people. Like, I'm not I'm not doing comic book level art in here, and it's just to get the ideas out. It's like, do I want a wizard in this game? I'm gonna draw one and see if that makes my brain happy. It's that kind of shit. And I wrote down, D&D stat names, attack speed, or strength, con, dex, and whiz charisma. Then I wrote down some other shit like attack speed, dodge chance, block amount, hit chance, damage. And then I wrote, too boring. Do you, but still make enough sense. The roles should make sense for the world. The world should be fun. Use this as practice. Do your dream project? Do your dream project forever. A world where people talk more, love each other more openly. Honesty reigns. Honesty reigns ideal? Something like that. Honesty reigns ideal, but threatened, maybe even from within. How do they fight? What's fun and doable? So yeah, you can hear a lot of what I've been thinking about. Honesty, problems from within, all these kind of things. For a while I was thinking like, oh, maybe the best way to express all this stuff would be to make a game and have these themes in it, and I'll probably go through more game ideas in here. But, you know, as you can tell if you're watching this video, I decided on a more direct approach because making games is a whole lot of work over a whole lot of time, takes a whole lot of resources. I mean, you know, it can, and I'm not experienced enough for it not to. And like, even if I do all that and put it out, people might not play it. People might not see it. People might not get it. Even if they do play it, they might not understand. Like, it leaves up too much to chance, and I think it's probably better if I just come out and say exactly what I mean. And, you know, someday I'd still like to make a game, and it'll probably have these themes in here because it's just what I'm thinking about. It's what's important to me. But for now, it's not on the immediate horizon. And for now, it's just something to think about. Bunnies and turtles. Bunnies are all rush experiment. Go, 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 fuck. Turtles are too cautious. They take their time. They can hustle, but they prefer to plan things out from the safety of their shells. It's not gelling in my head. Maybe something more abstract. Focus on the gameplay and the theme will emerge. Level up stats. Sure. I can't see what that says. Level up stats, classes. Certain classes use certain stats. But if you used every class, it doesn't matter. But if you need every class, it doesn't matter. So maybe multiple configurations can work, and the path of least resistance depends on what you got early. So there has to be some limit. If the player can redo or re-prestige over and over until they get what they want, it's not as fun as working with a janky team. But I also don't want the player to get stuck in an unfun run with no way to abort. So trying to balance, you know, RNG versus agency in game design. An endless challenge, fun to think about. Try to entice them. Any random character can beat the first section, and by the time they do, they might have the synergy the player wants. Really, I'd like any randomly provided option to be viable. Just writing different roles, balance the roles. Tetris? Grid-based tactics? Too complicated. Darkest dungeon style order? Or choose from a number of formations, or I'm sorry, it just says very big letters. And it's got like a little, I don't know why it says song with the music notes there. But yeah, thinking about what kind of game I would even want to make, and there's just so many possibilities. Like, it's hard to kind of find a starting point and a path, like, what do I want? It's hard to know what I want to put in a game when I don't know what I want out of life. Music, math, and Rubik's Cube, LOL. These are all things that I was, you know, exploring at the time, and still am to a degree, but I haven't touched a Rubik's Cube in a while, and math I've kind of let go pretty far. Music I'm doing a bit. I'm trying to play my guitar more, but like really the videos are the focus, and everything else is kind of fallen by the wayside. I have been playing more N64 lately, because that reminds me of happy times. A D6 Rubik's Cube? A D6 Rubik's Cube. Scramble the faces, then roll the whole damn thing. So, you know, I was trying to use the stuff that I was interested in to inspire new game mechanics. And I thought that if there was some kind of strategy or tactics game that takes place on a Rubik's Cube, and like you get one color or one face, right? So you get like 9 cells to put your guys. And so you put all your guys in whatever order you want around the side. And there's like, I don't know, maybe corner and edge guys. And you can only have 4 of each. And you pick them and you put them, and then the cube gets like mixed up, like shuffled around, scrambled, and then rolled like a die. And whichever side is facing up is the side that like happens. And depending on which of your units are ended up next to which other like tiles, determines what happens, or maybe what your options are. And so I thought something like that would be a fun way to introduce like enough RNG that there's variety and unpredictability without so much RNG that, you know, your choices feel entirely meaningless. But based on my description, like hearing it again, I think that leans a little too much into RNG. Like it never fully coalesced in my mind, but there might be something to this idea that someone else could do better, and like, feel free to. On the subject of using any of my ideas, yeah, I think that ideas being open, you know, open source is best for everybody. Sorry, that's a fly in front of the lens. I'll see if I can get it out of here. I can see back there now. Yeah, on the subject of ideas being open, I think that in general, copyright is way too restrictive. I understand wanting to profit off your own ideas. I understand not wanting people to just reprint your work and profit off of that. I do think that's completely wrong. But I think that we should be able to be a little bit more free in the way that we share them with each other. And in the case of like my religious videos, even though I don't believe your religion, I do believe the things that I'm saying in the videos that I make when I'm talking about the Bible. And if you want to use anything that I talk about in like a sermon or like whatever, you can. Like, I'm not gonna get upset. I'm not gonna demand payment or credit even. If someone asks you specifically like, oh, where'd you get the idea to talk about such and such, or you said, like, if you use a phrase that I used and someone asks you where you said that, where you got that from, or why you said that, then I might appreciate if you send them my way. You know, just be honest. Just be honest about where the information came from if it comes up. You don't have to put my name at the top of the bulletin or even on the bulletin at all. Nothing like that. Because it's like Jesus was saying, like, God, it feels weird to say as a non-believer. It's like Jesus says, it doesn't matter where the truth comes from. If it's the truth, share it. Or at least that's my paraphrasing. The truth is just so valuable. It's so important. We have to share it. We need it to spread. We need it to overpower the lies, which is a big ask. Big ask. The truth can't do that on its own, because the truth isn't the one covering itself up. It's us. So we just gotta stop doing that, and then we'll see it. Or at least we'll get closer to seeing it, you know, as close as humans can get to seeing it. So you choose your face's arrangement before the battle, keeping with that work well together in the same row or column can help or prevent them from being separated. Because if it only does a few scrambles or turns or rotations, then your pieces won't really get that mixed up. Most of them will still be, or, you know, like it says, columns and rows will still be next to each other. You might have a couple of guys who stick together. Goal of battle is to reduce enemy's life to 0, ? Because, I don't know, it could be multiple goals to a battle, could be multiple different spaces. Units who are adjacent distract each other and do not trigger ? Some kind of distraction priority. Units must be adjacent to drop to collect them. Units must be adjacent to drop to collect them. Within reach. Oh yeah, so not necessarily adjacent. Some of them might have different reach. Which may have different reach. If 2 with same prio reach for same, they bounce off and neither gets it. And then I drew a little picture of a grabbler. Grabbler, high speed, max reach, no damage, can't distract. He's just a little ball with arms, little grabby arms. I can't possibly get this notebook in focus, but I don't care. I might take pictures of these when I'm going through in the edit if I'm feeling like they're just really shitty to look at. Prestige upgrade, additional moves, damage, ? Distract, ? Distracting a hazard can prevent it. unit brain. If enemy in reach, distract. If loot in reach, grab for it. If health in reach, grab for it. And then go for loot before health. Attack enemy life points if not distracted. Use different colors, a different arrangement. You versus enemy, neutral versus hazard, loot versus health. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, cyan, indigo, purple, pink, white, brown, black, gray. Because I was thinking, well, I don't have to stick to Rubik's Cube colors, and for copyright reasons, it might be best if I don't. And the different colors can have different meanings, and could maybe even have more than 6 on a cube at a time. I don't know. But I also wrote February 3rd. Uncle friend is sad. I am sad. Don't know what to do. Because, you know, all this game brainstorming was partly a distraction and just a way of processing what I was going through, with the hopes that someday it would lead to a product that I could sell and benefit from. Maybe I should go back home. I want to be here. Which one is more selfish? Because, you know, I believe that if I was there helping them, which was my goal and I was trying to do and I felt I was doing, that they would want me around, that I would actually be a good thing to have around. But if I wasn't, then yeah, I don't want to be putting pressure on them, on their family, and adding stress to a very stressful situation already. And so I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what would have been right. But I knew I wanted to be there. Didn't think it hurt this much. Stupid me. Uncle friend sent me away. It hurt, and I underlined that. He said I remind him of his partner who had passed away. I still don't have all of the details. We never got to talk about it properly. But from what I understand, this partner had a drinking problem and was told that he needed to stop and didn't stop, and eventually died from it. And what's annoying to me is that my drinking isn't as bad as Uncle Friend's current partner, or at least partner at the time of writing this. But I got kicked out, and as far as I know, he didn't, but whatever. Maybe he did. It's not my business anymore. Because I wrote in here, you know, I said just now it's an annoyance, but I wrote in here, oh, that makes sense. Fuck. Because, like, I still don't have all the details. And so I just generously assumed, like, maybe our situations are similar. That's how my friend is acting. Surely he knows. But now I'm starting to think, oh, that was probably just an assumption. We never really talked about this. Everyone's just making assumptions and treating them like facts, and it's like life and death shit, and it's so fucked up. And I had written, so now I'm off booze until TBD. I am at my ex's. His support is incredible. And that one's underlined multiple times. It's got hearts. It's got circles. I don't want to show you the page because there are actual names on here. And then I wrote, we'll see what happens. Yeah, so I had said that I'm off booze until TBD. That did stick for a while, like a week or two. And then I was talking to Uncle Friend, you know, texting him, trying to get more information, and just, he didn't have any. I couldn't understand. It didn't feel like love to me. It didn't feel right. And since then, he has said, you know, it's not the way he wanted things to go. It's not the way anyone wanted to go. He's not happy about what happened or how he treated me. And I told him, thank you. And, you know, I hope we can talk again someday. And I have sent him a few things since then, but I don't know whether he's watched them or not. I don't know how he's doing, really. I hope he's okay. But as far as the drinking goes, it is complicated because I recognize that drinking is just not a good decision, like, pretty much ever. It can have pleasant effects, and it can, you know, like, lower inhibitions or quote unquote give you courage, that kind of thing, make it easier to do certain things. But, like, it does have health consequences. Like, it's always taking a toll on your body, even if it's a small toll. People like to, okay. I have to be honest. I have abused alcohol. And people have seen that, and people, you know, I think that's probably what my friend was talking about when he said that I reminded him of his friend. That's what my brother thinks about whenever he thinks about me and my problems, is he just remembers how I was when I was living with him, and, you know, very into alcohol at that time. And even now, staying here at my ex's, I have alcohol sometimes. Sometimes I have quite a lot of alcohol. But I recognize that it's habit, and I recognize that, these are choices that I've made over and over again and justified to myself over and over again because I couldn't see another way out. And I'm finally starting to see that, and it's a slow process, and I've had to do it all by myself. But I am starting to see it, and I am being better about my drinking habits. I don't currently have any liquor here. I do have some beers. I didn't have any yesterday. I don't think I had any the day before, but I may have had some the day before that. Like, it was only 2 or 3 days ago since my last drink. I'm not pretending like, oh, I'm 2 months sober. No, it's nothing like that. But I also don't beat myself up about it. And that helps. That helps because it's not all or nothing. It's not, well, I have to give up alcohol now. If I have this drink, I'll be drinking the rest of my life. That's not true. Like, conversely, if I don't have a drink now and I continue making that choice, I'll never have a drink for the rest of my life. And that's also true. And that's the more positive thing to focus on. But like, I don't want to focus on the negative of, like, I think negative reinforcement is a big problem. We've had too much of that. And, my parents hitting me kind of literally beat that into me. And I punished myself my whole life, including when I was writing this journal, including like just months ago. And I've been trying to get a lot better about not doing that. And I've been trying to grow as a person. And I've been trying to tell my parents and my family what horrible things they did to me. And they're all trying to shut me down and deny it. They're all trying to put me right back down there. It's disgusting. I hate them. I love them, but I fucking hate them. They've made my life a living hell and they still won't fucking listen. I don't understand. I really don't understand how they could justify all this. Throughout this notebook, still dealing with alcohol issues and still feeling very uneasy about it myself because, I wasn't sure, like, do I have an addiction? Am I an alcoholic? Is this something that controls my life? And I really don't think it is. I think when I drink, it's a choice that I make because I feel like drinking at that time. And whether I feel like drinking at that time because I'm thinking about these old terrible things and want to get my mind off it, or because I just feel like, relaxing either my mind and body, whatever, it is a choice that I made. And when I abused alcohol, it was a choice that I made almost because I wanted to die. Like, I needed something to change. And I knew that, I don't know how to put it. Like, it was like, drinking is something that you can control. That's the fact that it was a choice is what appealed to me. It's like, this is something that I can do that my parents wouldn't, in fact, audibly do not want me to do. But that makes me, either feel better or even feel like I'm punishing myself. Like, it's weird. It's a weird thing how it's almost both at once, where it's like I'm trying to pull myself up by punishing myself because I think that's how you do it, because that's what my parents beat into me. And so, like, it's how you justify abuse. You justify abusing yourself as deserved punishment that will make you better, when it's actually just a habit that you repeat and doesn't get you anywhere. And I think that the more time that my mind has to understand and accept, reality as I'm processing all of these things, I think it'll just get easier not to drink. And I think it'll get easier and easier not to hurt myself, because I don't want to hurt myself. I don't think I deserve that. I don't deserve any of the pain that they fucking forced on me. And I let myself believe for a long time that I did, and I took it because I wanted to please them. I wanted to make my parents happy. I thought I owed them everything. I really don't. I owe my friends everything. My friends saved my life. My friends kept me sane, even when I took them for granted. My parents couldn't take care of me even when I gave them everything. Been smoking a lot of weed, eating a lot of junk and candy, door dashing a lot. Bad habits. Do I need to break those too? I'll get in shape working the property. I hope I can earn my place there. See, that's what was going on, is there weren't as many places to order out there at Granny's. You know, we'd go to the grocery store, we'd load up the freezer, and we'd have food for however long we needed. We'd have sandwiches and things. I wasn't ordering as many deliveries out there. Smoking weed a lot. To be clear, I don't think that being high is necessarily a problem. Obviously, if you're like operating heavy machinery or something, you know, you probably should not impair yourself in any way. But generally speaking, if you're just like hanging around your own home, it's fine. Smoking is the issue. Smoking is bad for your lungs, heart, brain, body, you know, a lot of the important organs in there. And I'll be honest, I still smoke quite a lot. Smoking is enjoyable to me, at least at this point. I don't know if it always was, but you know, it's just like the choice of picking up a drink every now and then. Like, it becomes a habit and it can snowball, and I'm dealing with these things. I'm trying to choose more often to, you know, pick up edibles, pick up a can of weed to drink instead of flower to smoke. But I still like smoking, and at this point in my life, I'm not beating myself up too much about it. I figure I can give myself like more years if I need them, but I don't want to put a time limit on it, because then I'll just walk all the way up to the time limit, cross the line, and find more ways to justify it. But the goal is to cut back on smoking. It's just I'm still transitioning from this semi-suicidal period, and honestly, like it's never gonna fully go away. I'm always gonna be like, oh man, death will be a relief in some ways. It will. It's not something I'm looking forward to, and it's not something I want to rush. Stuff like, you know, taking perfect care of my body, I'm not too concerned about. I know I'm not going to live forever anyway. And so from there, it's just a matter of kind of balancing the risk versus how much you want out of life or what experiences you want to have. And I do not recommend weed and alcohol to, you know, just everybody. It impairs your natural state, and your natural state is pretty good. Your natural state can be great. If you're, you know, taking care of yourself, if you're eating right, exercising, drinking water, and practicing good habits, your natural self can be the best self. And like, that is where I want to go ideally, but I'm not going to try to force myself to get there. I'm going to be patient with my journey there. Cause I'm not even fully ready to begin any kind of journey like that. Like, I'm still reeling from all this fucking nightmare shit that's been happening my whole life, and every time I try to talk to people about it, they act like I'm crazy and they act like it's my fault. And so I gotta set the record straight. But yeah, I was hoping that I could earn my place and go back to Granny's, where it's not as tempting to DoorDash, because here we got a lot of restaurants right in town and most of them can get here quick. It's so much easier than driving, especially when, you know, my car's in the garage all the time and there's people behind me. But no, I mean, it's not impossible to get my car out. It's just easier a lot of the time to DoorDash, especially during meal times when everyone's home. But that is something that I've been doing way less of since giving up my job, because this was still when I had my job, and so like the fiscal aspects weren't even a concern. Once I gave up my job, DoorDashing had to be reduced. The weed that I was purchasing had to cut back on. That didn't stick. I'm still spending more than I want to on weed, but I'm not spending more than I want to on DoorDash right now. And as far as like the junk and candy, I still do buy things like that from the dollar store, and my diet is not the best. My diet is not very good. I can't do too much at once, and I can't force myself to just immediately get better. These are all things that are on my mind and that are, you know, goals. But it was just such a blow. It was such a step down, and it felt like such a betrayal. I trusted people with my life again, and I tried to make a family, to be part of a family, and they pushed me out again. They told me your experiences aren't that important. We know this will hurt you. You're telling us it hurts you, but we just got to do it. So please leave. But like, I give my friends a lot more of a pass than my parents, because they didn't birth me. They didn't raise me. They were gracious letting me stay there at all. And so, you know, I understand if they asked me to leave, and even though it hurts, that's what I did. it just hurt. It hurt a lot because it felt very personal, you know. But I don't think it was. Having gotten space and distance from it in time, I don't think it was that personal. I think it was just a really unfortunate storm of events, and just either the worst or best timing of my life. I can't tell yet. Because how else was I ever going to address all of this? And how else was I going to get better if I didn't? And this is where the religious people say, the Lord works in mysterious ways. And this is where I say, if I didn't have that Lord bullshit, they would have listened to me when I was a child. We could have saved 20 years of my life. The fact that I have suffered more trauma to dig this back up is a failure of my parents and of their religion. So then I drew some kind of vague, foresty looking, like just a tree, really. And I wrote some words, just a couple, like river through the wood, clearing. Because I was thinking about environments that I might want to put in a game. Always thinking about games and fantasy worlds and, you know, imagining things. Pushing more people away. Mom, I am convinced it is her fault. Discord friends. I posted some suicidal ideations, explicitly saying I was not planning anything, and someone got scared, so I left all the servers I'm in so nobody has to see it. And that kind of like overreaction is an abusive habit that I have from my parents. It's punishing, either punishing an individual for the thing of the group or punishing a group for the thing of the individual. Like, they don't care, they just punish. And so from my perspective, when this one person reacted, you know, uncomfortable with honest discomfort to my post about how happy I would be if I killed myself with a helium tank, I took that personally. And I thought, how dare they? How dare they not understand? But, you know, it's really hard to understand. I can't really blame them, but I did. I took it personally. And I left all the servers that I was in and it's partly because I couldn't trust myself. I was like, well, all right, if this is the kind of stuff that I'm going to be sharing and this is how people are going to react to it, like, it's just going to happen over and over again if I let it. So I should cut myself off and I should, you know, isolate, basically. But that didn't last too long. Like, I knew isolating wasn't the best. And eventually I got more people together, but that was also a bad idea because they still didn't fully understand what was going on, and nobody can, is what I'm realizing. And that's very difficult, because it means I'll be alone forever, and that sucks. But everyone is in some way, I guess. Nowhere to go but up, basically. So got that going for me. So it's just me, my ex, and a friend from afar. Because I was still talking to a certain friend who I haven't talked to in a while now. This person got married, and I don't mean to say that like it's a bad thing, but I've rarely seen it be good. But by my own admission, my problems are not solvable. And this was something this is like the main reason that I have had suicidal thoughts and ever since a young age. Because of my parents' absolute beliefs of like, you have to be on our side or we'll kill you and you'll go to hell. There is no way out. There is no good option. And so I believed that. I believed that for most of my life, that sometimes there's just nothing you can do. Sometimes some problems are unsolvable, and sometimes you will, you know, you have no choice but to die. And I guess technically that is true, but I believed that I was at that point when I was not yet. I believed that, you know, there weren't options because I couldn't see them, which is exactly how my parents are treating me now. And I wrote, of my friends, so what do I expect them to do? I don't know. Give up is not the answer I expected, because it felt like that's what they were telling me. Like I'm a leper. Your problems are too big, please let them destroy you in private. It felt like that's what people are telling me, and it still feels like that's what some people are telling me. But if I do that, no one's gonna learn, and you're just gonna create more people like me, and nobody wants that. Please, for the love of God, last person who wants that is me. Do not create more people like me. Holy shit. Let's create people better than me, please. Oh, what did I write here? Bad fucking deal. Referring to, like, you know, the hand that life dealt me. I never wanted to play in the first place. I've been begging and screaming for relief for years, but everyone says no. Keep suffering. That's what my parents tell me. Fuck me, I guess. It's just written in, nice big, not full-on psycho scribbles. We'll get to that later. Friend is talking, friend cares, I'm scared. I do believe that friend cares about me. It's a little bit complicated because he is a person of faith. Not exactly the same faith as my parents, but I haven't gotten a chance to talk to him about how much he believes this stuff and how much it guides his life, whether him and his wife are planning on having kids, anything like that. Like, all those things scare me, concern me. He is a good person, and I hope that he's happy. And I do believe that he cares about me, and I appreciate him talking to me during this time. I hope to see a day when, I can talk to all of my friends again and not have to hide anything anymore. February 18th. Granny died yesterday. I cannot tell what this word says. It's like fuming, running, frying. Okay, so I think it's February 18th. Granny died yesterday. Fuming with world. Don't know what I'll do. So I was just, fuming, angry. Like, how could this happen to me? Like, who keeps doing this to me? How do so many nice people let me get so close and then break my heart and push me away and treat me like dirt and make me lie to Granny and say goodbye and miss her death? Well, it's because that wasn't actually my family. My actual family abused me to the point that I tried to, escape into another family, and just wasn't mine. So it wasn't personal. It's just bad luck. I have not been kind to myself. Uncle Friend says that certain other people are there with him. I'm glad, because I, asked him, how are you doing now that Granny is dead? That kind of thing. Wish I could be there. Everyone wants to pretend my drinking is the problem. If I could have foreseen what happened, I would have stopped. I didn't get enough warning. It wasn't clear enough. We weren't talking. Oh well. Trying to figure out what to do next. And it's, the same thing with my parents. Like, I can't. I wanted to talk to this person, but we never seemed to have time, or maybe he didn't want to talk to me, and I wanted to talk to my ex, but I don't think he wants to talk to me, at least not about these things. And so, everyone just, like, awkwardly pushes me away, and I'm just left alone to deal with it and try to make sense of it the best way that I can. I feel like the drinking thing was an excuse. I think he pushed me out for other reasons. And I think we'll talk about it more another time, I hope. Not drinking tonight, yet. Hard to sleep. Glad Uncle Friend isn't alone. Wish I could be there. I miss the woods. I miss Uncle Friend. I want to try again with everybody. I hate this isolation. I'm bumming out or deeply concerning my friends, family, boss, but I don't give a fucking shit. Because it doesn't matter in the long run. Not much does. I fucking tried. And this is where it starts to get a little bit, fucking demento writing. But it's like I said, it didn't seem to matter. Nothing seemed to matter, especially in the long run. Like, if I die, who cares if I write Goofy on this page? It more honestly expresses what's in me. Which is just this, like, deranged frustration because nothing makes fucking sense and everyone's acting like I'm to blame. Which is just not fair. Anger! Because it should not have gone this way. All my loved ones keep slipping out of my grasp. That's life, I guess. And that's, more of a possessive perspective. Who the fuck signed me up for this bullshit? And you got some big old scribbles down there. Still not too bad, though. Scared because I don't know what to do. Worried it'll never get better. Going to hurt until I die alone. Going to try to find a hobby or a project I can plunge into. But what can I even do when I'm so miserable? I can't help myself. No one can help me. There's no hope for me. Well, now I want to drink. Well, I want to be drunk. My stomach does not want a tequila shot. But I don't know what else to do. I don't know how I'll sleep. I don't know how I'll live. I hope my ex doesn't react. I hope my ex doesn't read this. I scared him already. I'm sorry. Yeah, shit. There was a night early on when I was here, when I still had my job, I think, or I had just recently quit my job, not too sure, but I think I was talking to my old apartment. I almost renewed that apartment for another year because I didn't have anywhere else to go, but my ex said that I could stay with him, and so I canceled that apartment thing. But during that whole thing, like, that apartment was such a piece of shit and so poorly managed. It was constantly like flooding and being terrible. And it's just like my parents again. It's this abuse again. They set up this dangerous, bad environment to live in and acted like I was the problem every time I tried to get them to fix it. And when I moved out, you know, they tried to pin everything on me. They tried to blame everything on me, and just getting them to actually let me leave was a nightmare. And there was one night in particular where, like, I was scared that I was going to lose, I think it was like my retirement money or something like that, like tens of thousands of dollars, which I basically have lost. I think it's out there somewhere. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get it, though. A problem for another day, like all the, you know, like many problems. But yeah, I was so upset by it at the time. You know, I hadn't accepted that loss entirely at the time that I got like really angry, and I like screaming, and you know, I wanted to fight a tree. I was outside, and like the only thing out there was the tree in the front yard, and I knew that, you know, the tree would probably be resistant to anything that I could do to it, and I would just wear myself out and beat myself up fighting it. Punishing. Just wanted to punish myself. Yeah, it's late summer. I'm in the garage. Trash cans are over there. Fair amount of flies. Not too many, though. Surprised there's only one in the car. Oh, there's actually a lot of flies in the window right there. That's probably where they're coming from. But yeah, like, I was concerned that my ex was going to kick me out because I was so unstable. And honestly, that's still kind of a concern. Like, he seems very chill. He's very kind, you know, when we talk. Every time I tried to go into detail about, you know, stuff with my parents, he kind of just like tuned me out and walked away. So eventually I just gave up. I figure he doesn't want to talk about that, and maybe it's best if I don't push it. It's not his problem. He's not responsible for my happiness or well-being or anything like that. He's very generous for letting me stay here, and you know, it's important to me that I sort through these issues so that I'm not a scary presence in his house to him or his pets or anyone else, so that I'm not, you know, slamming his floor or, you know, breaking anything in there. And when I would give in to those abusive impulses or destructive impulses, I'd end up feeling even worse, you know, like it's so strange. It's like the momentary punishment is meant to make me better, but it's all bullshit. So as soon as I feel or see the effect of the punishment, I'm like, oh, that was a terrible mistake. Now I'm even worse off than before. Now I need even more punishment to get even better. And it's like, that's the abuse. That's the abuse they beat into me. That's the abuse that I'm still trying to deprogram. Don't take me away. Hope leads to hurt. Love leads to loss. Trying leads to failure. Life leads to death. I suppose those are all true. You can also switch them all the other way around, and it could work that way too. I'll try to stay, but it hurts. It hurts. It's hurt for years. I keep punishing myself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No such thing as a perfect record, absolvement or no. I don't think I'm a good person. I think I'm scary and mean. Asshole with a friendly mask. I'm sorry. I'm weak. I am so tired of starting over. I am so tired of going nowhere, of closing doors, of burning bridges. I do it myself sometimes, just to feel like I have some control. I'm sorry. Having me was questionable. Raising me Christian set me on a bad path. Moving broke me, ended me. That's the part that no one understands. Not my own family, not my closest friends. It's a giant, cruel pain that only affects me. They can't even see it. I try to tell them about it, but it can't quite. It's just for me. I'm able to read this a lot better. Let me skim to make sure there aren't names in here. Because it's print. I stopped using the cursive for this one. I just started writing I can't say for sure what was on my mind at the time. Whether people are around or not can make a big difference, all kinds of things. But it's much easier to read, though the content is quite bad. Well, I don't know about bad. I mean, it's just depressing, you know. It's a monster that sneaks up on me or ambushes me or gets me in a corner and just mauls me emotionally. I'm terrified of medication. And then in parentheses I put, but not drugs. Because like I can see that. I can see that as a double standard. It's like, well, you're taking mind-altering substances that you like. And it's like, yeah, because I kind of understand them better because I've tried them longer ago. My experiences with prescription drugs honestly haven't been as positive as my experiences with recreational ones. There are a lot of factors, and I don't want to tell anyone not to take medicine. I will tell you that I personally don't trust most doctors or pharmacies, or the whole healthcare industry in America is a scam. Like, you can't trust anyone. That's part of the problem in our abusive fucking society, is there's no one you can trust. Everyone is out there to kill you for their own gain while lying to your face with a smile. Ugh. That's probably the best way I can describe the pain. A monster that sneaks up on me or ambushes me or gets me in a corner and just mauls me emotionally. Like, it feels like it's tearing like right through here, just ripping, clawing my heart out, goring me. Like, and no one cares and no one can see it. So I'm terrified of medication, parentheses, but not drugs. The drugs exploit me honestly. They don't lie. I'll live alone with this monster forever. Uncle Friend's monsters are probably even bigger. Wish we could spend more time together. Did I really fuck it up? It wasn't my fault. Lack of communication. Bad timing. She's gone, and we're pinwheeling. You know, it really felt like the linchpin that was holding us all there just disappeared. Because those friends that I had moved there to stay with, they actually got kicked out before I did. Them and their dogs were taking up a lot of space and stressing Granny out, and they were asked to go to, you know, a different place nearby. I was also asked to leave for a while, but I ended up, you know, protesting, calling them back and being like, Granny, what are you talking about? Because when she had kicked me out, she was like, you just want me to die, so you're trying to get me sick so you can kill me so you can take my house. And I was like, no, Granny, no. That's such a horrible thing to say. How could you even, like, think that of me? And, like, I was stunned. Like, I just started crying and, like, you know, I packed up and left that day. And I told, you know, Uncle Friend about it. And eventually Granny called me and apologized and explained that, you know, it's partly the medication and the stress. And I was, you know, of course I understand that. Like, she was dying. But I was allowed to come back. And I wanted to try to hold everything together, you know, so we could all be okay and so we could all have the same lives we were talking about before Granny got sick, but we couldn't because she wasn't there and it wasn't our property, it was hers. Uncle Friend inherited it, kind of, but Uncle Friend has a brother and his brother has a wife, and it's basically their house now as far as I can tell, so what can you do? We're all scattered apart now, and we have no way of coming back together. And this one's written, there's a mostly blank page and then some teeny tiny text. I hope love wins in the end. It might, but right now, the pain feels bigger, unstoppable. And I'm not even that sorry, because I didn't fuck my life up. I've done everything I could, more than most would try. What a fucking sucker I am. And that's really, like, the biggest thing I did wrong was falling for it. And I didn't even, like, fall for it. They beat me until I had to. It's so fucked. Always out of phase. Get one plate spinning again, drop two others. We were so close several times. Now I'm ready, finally. But no one else is. I hope they're okay. I'm not. I hurt. I'm scared. I can't kill myself. Too awful to too many people I love. Still looking at it wrong. Still looking at it, you know, as I have to be here to suffer for them. Like, no, I don't. I could kill myself. I don't want to. Pisses me off, though. Wish I had answers. No, fair. everything's falling apart. That is how it felt. Everything is in pieces now. It fell apart. Trying to debug myself. I'm gonna read this in the numbered order because like I wrote it in one order and then I added numbers because this is like a brainstorming thing, like the game design stuff that I was doing, but for my own brain. So number 1, before I look for scapegoats, others to take the blame. Admitting failure hurts because it's reflective of something wrong in me. So I don't know if this is like, I don't know exactly what this situation is describing. We'll see. Admitting failure hurts because it's reflective of something wrong in me. After I play the victim like, woe is me, the weak and shitty failure. Lately I've been repeating this loop. And I couldn't see it here because I said I look for scapegoats, others to take the blame. And it's like, yeah, but sometimes others are to blame, and that's why I was in the habit of trying to blame others, is because my parents are actually to blame, have been since I was a child, and ever since then, like, that's all I know is other people can and do cause my problems. I also cause my problems, at least a lot of them. Not the biggest ones, but a lot of them. Cry for help. Someone fix it. If they can't, next best thing is confirm my suspicions. Deny, refute. I'll just come back to this one later. Yeah, that was my friend. I went out and talked to him. Landlord, well, ex showed up, and other person from the house showed up. And so, like, all 4 of us were just hanging out and chatting. And it was great. Fantastic. We didn't talk about any of my abuse stuff. That's not, that doesn't usually come up. We were talking about, like, just their work and stuff around the house. But it was really nice. I don't know how long I'll be with these people or how long they'll be here. It's just good to spend some time with people in a relaxed and, like, friendly environment, without the fucking pressure my family is always putting on. So last time I left off, I was trying to debug myself. Yeah, at the time when I was writing this about debugging myself and being stuck in this loop, that's basically where I was, and that's partly why I picked up this journal and started writing it. There was this, like, misery loop that had been going on, on and off before Granny got sick. But then after I was asked to leave, it was like, it's very difficult to explain this, like, you have to live it. And I don't recommend that to anybody. But if you can imagine being abused as a child, taken from your support, your friends that were actually there for you, basically abandoned by your parents, like, they just stopped talking. I couldn't talk to them. I tried. I tried many times. And eventually they made me give up. And thinking at that point, oh, well, once I get out on my own, I'll be able to do things right. I'll be able to do things my way without their influence. I didn't realize that they had programmed me with their own shitty things. Because sometimes the shittiness is so, like, deep that I see the effects of it and I'm like, oh, that's clearly shitty. And I think, I'll never do that. And I don't do that specific result, but I do the, like, seed, the base shittiness that led to that result, and it leads to a different result in me. And so, like, I am being as shitty as them without realizing it, because part of their shittiness is denying the truth. And so I'm finally trying to accept the truth, however uncomfortable it is, acknowledge why I was shitty. And that helps. That helps me break out of this loop, because it's no longer like, well, it can't be me, right? Because if it's me, then there's, I'm a problem. And if it, like, it's just this endless loop of, like, looking for answers or for an easy explanation, or I don't know exactly, because, like, to some extent, I'm acknowledging that, like, I guess I was just looking in the wrong place and I didn't know where else to look. I didn't think, that, oh, my parents abused me at this point. I really hadn't put those pieces together. I did say earlier in the journal that I thought it was mom's fault, and I think I'll elaborate on that more, but, like, that was an idea that I had, and, that comes from conversations that I had with her after coming back from Granny's, as well as, just the experiences I had growing up. And so let's see, what else did I put in here? Admitting failure is good. Either you can learn from your mistake, if you can find any, or you can learn about a dead end. So I'm kind of figuring out, like, oh, I'm spinning my wheels here. Like, I've exhausted it, basically. I've looked everywhere. Here, I need to go somewhere else to find what I'm looking for. It's not here. Sometimes bad things just happen, question mark. Horrible, wretched things to people who don't deserve it. And yes, that is true, unfortunately. And how do I live with the pain? None of this prevented the failure itself. For argument's sake, say it was unpreventable. So, at this point, like, I'm acknowledging that I still have a lot of debugging or troubleshooting, I guess, digging to do to figure out exactly what the causes were, what caused the failure, as I put it. And the failure I'm talking about there is like me being at Granny's, I think. Like, it's weird because I believe in determinism. It seems like everything works on cause and effect, and I don't see why that wouldn't apply to the functions inside of our own minds, including our decision-making tools. It feels like it's our choice, and I think that's just kind of the level that we're at as conscious beings. And so there's always a part of me that thinks, oh, well, if I had said and done different things, things would have gone differently. And part of me thinks that, most of the time, there is some set of actions and words that I could say and do that would either, prevent a result or lead to a different result. And in this case, what I was getting at is that if I had been a better person when I went to Granny's, that they might have let me stay longer, that they might have, seen my value more clearly, or us been able to communicate more clearly. I don't really know. I don't have the details of what that alternate reality would look like. It's just a speculation, but the takeaway is that I'm aware that there are things that I could change in myself to prevent that failure. And at this point, I couldn't figure out why. Like, I was stuck in a loop. I was hitting dead ends. And so I said, for argument's sake, say it was unpreventable. Because at this point, like, even if I never figure out what went wrong, is there still a way to live with the pain? Because, like, I think the best way to deal with the pain is to figure out what caused it and actually address the source. But if for whatever reason you can't do that, what else can you do? What are your coping mechanisms? How can you move on? And then at the very bottom, I have in parentheses, you are here now, and it just says reevaluate. I'm not responsible for the circumstances of my birth or my upbringing. I did not deserve the move, and then above that I wrote, play the victim. I did not fail by failing to stop it. Blame self. Because I tried as hard as I could. Mom didn't listen. Blame others. It was tragic. I wish it hadn't happened, even if it separated me from my family. I loved my friends very much. They were good people at a good school. It could have been a great life. I'm sad that it wasn't. I'm sad at how far my broken programming problems have spread. I'm sorry to everyone in a way. In a way would make sense, but it doesn't look like I wrote in a way. It looks like I wrote in a very. I'm sorry to everyone in a way. Best I can do is try to be a better presence. These big things are so big that, like, I can't fix them. Like, they're too big. So what can I do? Well, I can be nicer, even if everything inside me is ugly and bad. Which it's not, not everything. It's not like that, but, even if I feel that I'm a broken person, basically, like, I can still be better. It doesn't take much to just be better. Like, that's just one step. Anyone can do that. It's a hard step, though. I don't want to pretend it's easy. Sometimes you just don't know where to step, or how far it is, where your foot's gonna land, whether there's ground. And sometimes you fall pretty far. I'm surprised I'm still here. All right. Yeah, so this page basically going through my view of my life. To me, I did try to stop the move, and I did think that it would be very bad for me, and I think it has proven to have been very bad for me. I wish that I had either run away or had been able to talk to my parents a bit more about possible options. Maybe my friends would have let me live with them, or at least, like, stay with them for a while. Maybe I could have stayed here and there, you know, just timeshare kind of situation, like, but they're absolute. They see no other options, and their one option is absolute, and never never doubts itself, never reconsiders, never even thinks twice. And that's a bad thing. That's not confidence, that's self-righteousness. That's like delusion. Egotistical delusion. But yeah, lamenting the life that I could have had, accepting it or trying to accept it as just a tragedy, and apologizing to, you know, everyone that has been affected by my actions. Best I can do is try to be a better presence. I feel weak, but I can be strong. I've done it before. I have to remove play the victim as an option. Part of that act involves feigning weakness, or rather expressing it more than it is natural. And it's a weird thing because, like, where did the victim complex came from? Because I think it came from me trying to get my parents' attention and them not helping me ever. So, like, what am I supposed to do? How else am I supposed to get help, especially when I'm a child and they treat me like that? And now that I'm an adult, I can look at it and say, well, I am a victim. But also, what else? Like, what can I do from there? Like, that's not the end. That's just my status. Like, that's just a role that I was kind of forced into. And I don't want to judge anybody, and I don't want to, like, you know, shame anybody for sharing their pain, their experiences. And I don't want to, you know, I don't want people to think like, oh, well, I better not talk about abuse that happened to me, or people will just think I'm playing the victim, because, like, you know, they might, honestly. It sucks, but they might. But, like, if you are a victim, like, express that. Like, that's an important part of you, you know, if you're up for that. Like, I don't want to push anybody outside of what they're comfortable with. I want to avoid the mistakes my parents made, and I don't want to put anything in my videos where I'm like, this is always the right answer, because every situation is different. Everything is complicated. Stop trying to make it too simple. Part of that act involves feigning weakness, or rather expressing it more than is natural, necessary. I don't know. Too much, though. I knew I could do it. I've just been dreading it. I want things to get dramatically better for me now, underlined. I could have been having these revelations with friends, surrounded by beautiful nature, but I'm not entitled to that, as nice and helpful as it would have been. At least this way I can prepare, no distractions. I'm not entirely sure what I'm talking about preparing for there. I don't know if it's talking about preparing for, like, the end of my life, or for, like, I think it just means the next leg of my life, or like a battle. Because I wasn't entirely sure, you know, but I was starting to put the pieces together that, hey, my parents might, like, fuck me up, and I'm having revelations, as I put it, that, like, I'm not entitled to these wonderful things that, you know, fulfill me as a human being, that make my life worth living. I'm not entitled to them, as much as that sucks. And you know, I don't need the friends and the nature to use my brain. I can still inspect myself without all that. And although what happened was very upsetting, it didn't change my course, which was to continue trying to better myself. And that's where I am now. Like, this was just back in February, March. I don't know. We'll see what our next date says when we get to one. How to move forward. These flies, man. I'm sorry if they fly around in front of the lens and I miss it sometimes. I try to shoo them away from there, but they might just be little guests in my videos sometimes. How to move forward. Do not play the victim. No more woe is me unless you need help. Find a way to ask for it. So, like, you know, I'm trying to reprogram my brain to say, stop hitting the one button when it's not working and no one's listening. Stop hitting the one button in every situation. Hit it only when it's appropriate. And, you know, realizing that that expressing my tragedy is a way of asking for help. And I was basically just been asking for help my whole life. And I can't say that. Like, I can't say my whole life, because there was that 20-year period where I was brainwashed and stupid and shitty. And I wasn't asking for help. I was trying to tell everyone else how to live. But, you know, roundabout way, you know, if you see that as a result of my abuse. It's kind of a way of asking for help, but yeah, no, I don't want to claim that. Do not blame others, not with the contempt you feel sometimes, the righteous accusation, the desire to instill guilt for control. People make mistakes. Be kind to them. Be kind to yourself, even if it makes extra work for you. And I put little brackets around extra work for you, and I wrote, I hate this, an obstacle that need not be there, which could derail my whole life. Someone else's fault. And then I wrote, in parentheses, catch, like... It's kind of like a try-catch, like a programming thing, but, just catching mistakes, catching errors as they happen, basically. I wrote, someone else's fault, catch, anger won't make it go away. Because I'm not entirely sure how to explain it, but, like, in my head, when I have those strong emotional reactions like that anger at, it's someone else's fault. They put this here, and it shouldn't be here, and it fucked me up, and it's like, I shouldn't even have to deal with this. Like, my brain gets stuck on that sometimes, and because the anger is so strong that, like, I'm just mad at the person that did it, and I'm not thinking about how to actually deal with the situation or, why they might have done it and that kind of thing. I had a lot of very limiting habits, and I was always trying to think about the world in just, like, one way or the most direct way, instead of seeing options and possibilities and, complexity, infinite complexity everywhere you look. And then I wrote, anger is for people who, ... Is anger necessary at all? Can it be replaced with alarm, urgency? I guess anger is the step after alarm doesn't work, but it's only for people who are willfully doing harm. Not your friend, not your mother, not you, right? You're struggling. As long as you know that behavior is wrong and stop doing it, it's okay. If you made a mistake, do your best to fix it. Gentle correction is sufficient. And then I think on this page I was trying to make like a flowchart. I wrote angry, and then I put a little arrow pointing at others and another one at self. But both of those point to, has responsibility been accepted? And then that one, I never wrote a note block for that. It just points to yes, and then that points to gentle correction is sufficient. When angry, when gentle correction is ignored, ... And then I just put a big X through it because, like, I don't know. I didn't really come to any conclusions or... And then on the next page, I tried it again. And I wrote angry, bigger, and with a spikier outline. And this one's actually kind of flowcharty. Given the way it's written and laid out, I don't think anyone is going to be able to read it anyway. So there's the big spiky sign that says angry. There's an arrow that says at who. And if it's at me, then it points to gently correct, and that's the happy path. But then there's also an arrow that points to punish self, feel bad / cry, pretend it won't happen again. And then that points back up to angry, because I've set myself up for failure there with unrealistic expectations. Because I didn't actually fix anything. I just punished myself and felt bad for it, and then was like, well, I did all I could. And then just went back out into the world expecting it to work without, doing anything different. Of course I'm going to get angry. I'm stupid. I'm causing my own problems there. But then there was another arrow after at who. Anger is for people, after all. And then there's one that just points up and says, oh, never mind, because, I realized I wasn't angry at people is what I'm saying there. Like, if I'm not angry at a person, then what good is the anger? My phone doesn't care if I get mad at it. I've checked. I've destroyed several phones, actually. None of them seem to care. This one is unintimidated. And so I'm being nicer to it. I'm finally being nicer to my devices, finally being nicer to myself, finally realizing, it's not the technology's fault. It's not the thing's fault. It's something else. And it's complicated. But then there's another one. Oh, I actually talk about this. There's an arrow pointing up that says, no, it's this object or idea with an angry face next to it. And then it says punish / blame those responsible, strain relationships, and then both of those point back to angry. And so this is me trying to basically map out the loop that, how do I keep ending up back here when I hate being here, basically, in that hateful, like, angry, miserable place that I was always ending up in. And so then, whether I'm mad at me or others, both of those arrows can point to gently correct with a, like, relaxed face. Did they listen? If yes, good. Hope it works out for them. Keep in touch to see. So, like, follow up. See if the gentle correction was the right thing to do. Because if it's not, you can learn better for next time. And if it was, you can say in the future, like, oh, I've experienced this before and this is how it worked before. You know, I'm not saying it'll work this time, but if we don't have anything better to try, let's try it. But if they didn't listen, urge them to do better with reasoning. Oh, there's an urgency meter now. So our urgency starts at 0. We did gentle correct. Did they listen? No. We raise the urgency to 1, and then we just repeat again. We gently correct, exactly the same. Did they listen? No. Urgency up to 2. Urge them to do better with reasoning, you know, kind of explain like, oh, hey, you know, like I gently corrected you before, but now it's like, you actually got to listen. Like, you're still doing it wrong. Like, this is why it needs to be better, and this is what it might do if it was. Did they listen? No. Raise the urgency to 3. Anger? Alarm them. Change blank, or blank will happen. And this is kind of where we got to with my parents, is like, what kind of relationship are we going to have in the future if you're not going to, like, admit that your beliefs have caused most of the problems in my life? If you're not going to admit that you use them to abuse me? How am I supposed to, like, you're still doing it too. Every time I visit you, you're controlling and you're emotionally manipulative. You ignore what I say and you try to tell me what to think. So anger/alarm them, change blank, or blank will happen. And I don't want to encourage anyone to make like ultimatums or to be threatening at this stage. And I also want to point out that this is just a idea. It's not like a foolproof process. It's not something that I've tested or recommend necessarily. It's just something I think about in, you know, interactions with people. So if the urgency has gone all the way up to 4, except that they won't change, at least not yet, follow through on any ultimatums. Okay, well, apparently back then I wasn't thinking as nicely as I am today. I mean, I guess change blank or blank will happen is an ultimatum, but like I don't want it to sound that. In this case, it kind of is an ultimatum because it's like our futures together. Do you want me in your life or not? Because if you're going to tell me that all the shit that you did to me didn't happen, I'm taking that as you don't want me in your life. Or I don't want to be in your life if that's how you're going to treat me. I don't want you in my life. Maybe that's the way to put it. I don't have a life of my own, so it feels weird saying it that way. So after stage 4, bad time, might have lost a friend or family member. Can't help it if they don't want it, but of course they do. It just is easy to feel threatened and to withdraw, retreat and regroup. Help where you can, don't force it. I have not really been listening to this advice. With my parents, like, I'm still sending my dad stuff. Like I sent him one this morning. I don't think he's reading it, though. Like, it's the kind of thing where, like, you know, when I was writing in the journal about, like, oh, it doesn't matter, all this stuff. And, like, it doesn't matter. They stopped reading. They didn't listen even when they were reading. Eventually, I'll just give up on trying to talk to them. I will still keep waving the red flag around, signaling Christian abuse and a truth problem I think we have just in humanity. When is it appropriate to get angry? Possibly when a person is denying the truth and refusing to listen to something important. Not at video games, not at mother unless she escalates there. This time it was definitely me, and that's talking to a specific thing, and I'm not sure if it was a phone call or what. But I mean, I say here it was definitely me. I kind of wish that I had access to that conversation and could, you know, or knew which conversation it was and could verify that. Because she may have well escalated to that point and I punished myself for it because I was still doing that shit. Because I keep trying to say in here, like, don't be angry at your mom. Don't be angry at your mom. But, like, she needs to hear it. I feel like I've been relatively nice, like, pretty generous. Considering what she did to me. Absolutely. That's the thing, is she just refuses to understand how much she hurt me, and she can't take responsibility for it. Let's see, on the side I wrote, I'd be angry at myself, and then I was, and other things/people. The consequences still hurt. After I wrote, this time it was definitely me escalating with mom, I wrote, I'm not sorry, yet. I'll be curious to sleep on all this. And then I dated it, February 21st, 2024. I suppose I get angry at video games because I want to win. I want to be able to solve problems, accomplish objectives, do anything. I wanted that power and would have freedom in my life. I wanted that power so I would have freedom in my life. Ultimate freedom, unlimited freedom. Oh, no, that's not what that says. Ultimate freedom, unrealistic freedom. It's a pipe dream. Let go. You might be the best at something specific, but you'll never be the best over everyone. And you'll never be perfect. You can't do everything. That's okay. No one can. Do what you can. I think that's pretty good. I like that. I am quite skilled. Citation needed. It's frustrating to come so close to success and fail. It makes my skill feel worthless. I'm chasing the goal, the notch in my belt, rather than the experience. I metagame my own life to my detriment. If I'm more ready to fail, there will be less pressure. Maybe I can even enjoy the failing, find a way to make it funny. You clown. And that's, that goes back to fucking Greek tragedy and comedy. Like, they've always been linked. Some people say that tragedy or comedy is just tragedy plus time. I don't know that's even necessarily time. It's any kind of distance, whether it's through time or, you could be right next to someone, experience tragedy and laugh at them if you're emotionally distant from them. But on the other hand, gallows humor is a thing, and if there's nothing to be changed, for better or worse, jokes typically don't harm things, Like at this point in my life, I've given up on my major goals. I've given up on having a family. I've given up on having my dream job. When I finally get back, to job searching after all this, like I probably will, my goals are a lot different now. I'm not looking for a career. I'm not looking for something that I'm going to work forever and just take me up and up and up, because that's a trap. That's not how it typically works. They typically just grind you to dust, spit you out, and then hire someone else to replace you when you're done. So I'd rather work for someone who cares and is doing something good, even if it doesn't make much money, as long as I can live and do something I believe in. I think I'll enjoy the rest of my life. Or at least, as much as I can. And so, with that as my big picture goals, why can't I goof around in, moment to moment days? Like, I don't have to be miserable all the time. And there was a comment that Purple Tiger had left on one of my videos. I forget the exact wording, but it was something like, I'm not entirely sure how you don't end yourself or think about ending yourself every day you don't find a job. And I think they were assuming that I'm here just like miserable or like still in the mindset that I've kind of talked about in my journal so far, like pursuing that one goal of, either having a job or making my life what I want it to be, and just getting more upset every time I fail, every day that I fail. That's not what upsets me, and that's not why I would want to end my life. It's my parents. It's the fact that they still won't fucking listen after all this time and all the fucking damage that they've done and all the pain that they've caused. That hurts me, and that they made me feel so alone for so long and let me feel that it was my fault for so long is wrong. And so that was the stuff that people also assume, like, oh, you want to kill yourself because you don't think you have value. Like, no, like I say in the journal, I do actually believe I have skills. I have since I was young. They've been tested. Like, school used to be good. There was a good school at one point, and I went to it. We were smart. We were smart kids. We were reading. We were doing math. We were learning. We were challenging each other and ourselves to increase our knowledge. And we were growing together. I've been trying to, pick up some of those old skills again, as well as some new ones. Yeah, but basically I believe that I do have value. I believe that, any person has value. If you've got a brain, if you can take input and you've got the senses to take input and you've got the hands and legs to output, or even, Stephen Hawking, just like a tongue, like any person can be valuable. Even if it's just stuff like, hey, I need someone to take this down the road and back. There's been this like really gross class thing just forever where like, oh, no one wants to be a janitor, no one wants to be a garbage person, and like these jobs get treated like shitty jobs, and it's like, well, they could be like good jobs. They are important jobs. The problem is that no one wants to do them, and that's kind of like, shouldn't that be why they're more profitable? And then at that point, like, we're supposed to kind of balance everything out, right? Like as a society, so that people want to do all the jobs that are necessary, and the jobs that people are doing get the valuable jobs get compensated the most, but it's impossible to balance everything in a way that is fair. Because once someone gets too much money, they can use that to influence others and, change things the way that they see fit instead of the way that might be best for everybody. So I'm not, I would say I'm not remotely suicidal right now, which feels strange because I've carried that feeling for so long of like, oh man, is this gonna be the one bad thing that's finally gonna trigger me to go through with it? And that's what I thought this might have been when Granny died and I was asked to leave. It hurt so much to lose another family like that, to lose friends like that. And then my own family was there to make it worse, like always. I really thought, I was thinking for a while that I would come here and just vent, scream onto the internet, get all this stuff out there, like some of my early videos with the very emotional bears killing children and all that. And I thought I would just do that, get it all out, and then let myself die. Because, I don't know, I don't want to be here. That's, fuck it. And I figured that this would make everything worse even, and after that, yeah. But it hasn't. It's actually been making things much, much better for me. My parents, our relationship has never been worse, but I'm being honest, and that is worth it. This is what frustrates me so much when people, say stupid shit. Like, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. Like, it does. It does. Nobody's feelings matter as much as the truth, but your feelings are true. I'm really not upset about, friends. I have to put it in quotes. People who called themselves friends, just dropping, bailing, not listening. They're basically acting like my parents. They've made their assumptions. They don't want to hear the truth, and they don't seem capable of changing their minds despite any amount of evidence because their feelings are stronger than information. Those people aren't friends. Those people can't be trusted. So, goodbye. You're welcome back when you can start being reasonable. And fuck you for not being there for me. But it's a lot. I admit that it's a lot, and I don't really blame you. I blame you, but I also understand, kind of thing. I might have done worse. I've been a bad person. It's easy to do. This is all about trying to get on the same page. I believe there is one world that we share, that we can perceive with our senses, and while we never get a perfect picture, there are some details that seem to be true every time we look at them, and I think that those are the things that we need to use as the foundation for our model of the universe. There are things that we can verify, and there are things that are just claims, claims of things that, maybe one day we'll have technology that enables us to transcend our universe and see, wave high to God. I have no fucking clue. I can't say that's not possible or that there's not a God beyond whatever. But what good does that do? He's not here. He hasn't done anything for us. He hasn't given us anything. There's a book a bunch of humans wrote because they liked that idea a lot and they wanted to believe it, and they did believe it. But that doesn't mean it's true. And they used their lie to separate me from the truth, and that's what ruined my life. I keep talking about my friends. The reason I value my friends so much is because they helped keep me on the right path. They helped keep me honest and truthful. They didn't let my bullshit slide. And that was so good for me. But my parents took me away from there, filled me with bullshit, and the bullshit just kept sliding. Slid all over the place, slid all over every friend I made after that. So now I've got my mop and I've got my bucket, and I am dutifully trying to clean up my shit. The shit that my parents filled me with, the shit that I spewed all over the world. I am sorry for that. Whatever the cause is, I am sorry for the part that I played. I never wanted to bring pain to people. I want to win? Yeah, I want to win to prove I'm the best. I want to be the fastest. It felt like a bait and switch, so I was angry, but nobody tricked me. I just assumed the outcome and was upset when I was proven wrong. I jump to conclusions because I want to be the fastest at everything, including thinking. It's a little silly. I don't need to be the fastest, just fast enough for me. No limits, no pressure. The point is, stop rushing to conclusions. Let things play out, conclude, so long as they're not harming. Another dangerous assumption is, I will win this. Sometimes I have to win this to prove blank. You don't know the outcome. You just have a guess. So, like, never stake, like, oh, I have to do this, because, like, it might not work out. So be prepared for that. Have a backup plan. I'll show them, in quotation marks, like if I win hard enough, it'll make up for all my previous failures. Like it never happened was a bad lesson. Oh, yeah. So, like, while I was at Granny's, I had the opportunity to entertain some kids who were, family spawn of Granny's. And I had one of them, I was showing one of them Zelda, and I had him playing Twilight Princess, and they were nervous about the combat, and they took a little bit of damage, and I said, oh, that's okay, go cut the grass, and there'll be a heart, and then if you pick up the heart, it's like it never happened. And I kind of wish that I hadn't said that, and that's what that's the lesson that I'm referring to here, because it did happen, but now you have the memories to withstand more, because, like, you did take the damage, even though you healed it. That was an experience that you had. The healing doesn't mean that, like, you never got hit or that you never should have been scared in the first place. It just repairs the damage. The experience still happened, and you still have that knowledge. You can still use that. That's still a part of you. It's part of your history. I think there's a temptation all the time to sweep things under the rug and make a clean start. Be like, well, from here on out, we'll be good, and we won't have any of those mess-ups, and we can pretend that they never even happened. Like, well, but they did happen. That's exactly how we got here. We come from a long line of mess-ups, and we're still messing up. And until we acknowledge that, we're not going to stop. I also got to put a couple of them on Time Splitters 2 for GameCube. And it was great. They got through most of the campaign. I had them on easy, but, they were, like, working together to navigate levels and sharing ammo and, like, calling out which enemies they were going to kill and stuff. Like, it was awesome. That's the kind of special memory that I want to make. That's the kind of experiences that I want to have. And I just keep getting taken from all these great people. I'm very, very lucky to have my ex here, because he's a great person. And I'm grateful that I get to spend time with him again. And he's off all this week, so I might actually get to see him quite a bit. I don't know when my next chapter analysis videos will be up, by the way. I haven't recorded any more of those, and the chapters in Mark take a while to get through and edit. But I do plan on resuming that at some point. Sometimes I equate ability with will to win, like the harder I want it, the better I'll play. Totally the opposite. Ideally, I want no pressure and to enjoy doing my best, win or lose. Doesn't matter what's on the line, the game is the same. Play carefully, have fun, do your best. I get defensive about losing/failing. I act like my reputation is on the line or something, or like I want people to think I'm infallible, and if I act outraged or upset enough, maybe they'll think it's a rare, unacceptable exception. That is awful. Drop the ego. The other thing that concerns me, there are habits. I can feel the channels worn in my mind. It will take time and practice to catch and fix enough to pull up the weeds. And I feel like I've been making a lot of progress over the months since I wrote this shit. I'm proud that I can sit here and smile and talk about how terrible my life has been. And cry, yeah, there's a lot of crying along the way too, but, I'm still here and I'm still okay. Well, I'm okay again. I'm as okay as I can be. I'm okay enough. I'm still here. That much is certain. And that's a big change, because I was very self-abusive, and I felt like I deserved to feel bad all the time, and I felt like I didn't deserve to be happy, or like never could be happy and never would be again. And I was hurting myself a lot, whether it was punching myself or drinking. And one of the texts actually that I sent to Dad today was, I'm just glad I stopped hurting myself this year. I realized those were always signals for you and Mom, but neither of you care. Whether he reads that or not, who knows? It's in a big pile of other text messages. They're there if he ever wants to read them. And if not, oh well. they're already being blocked, I can't tell. I'll keep writing them. They make me feel good. And I don't want it to be like a vindictive good or a vengeful good. Like, I need him to listen, and I cannot get through to either of my parents. I never have been able to, and that is so upsetting. I still have a long way to go too, but I am proud of my progress. If I remember right, I was writing some of these things about like failure and winning while I was actually playing a game on my phone that was angering me. And so like I would play a little bit because I was like, this is what I want to work on, is my anger issues. I'd play a little bit until it made me mad. And then I would write down in the journal, like while it was happening, what it was doing and what I should be doing instead, or what I thought about it basically. And that helped a lot. That's the catch that you need. You got to catch yourself as you're doing the bad behavior so you can say, oops, that's the misstep. Step back, look again, step again correctly. And then you do that enough times and that becomes the new habit. Then the old channel, gets filled in, I guess, or whatever, and a new channel is there instead. And so on this page I wrote, of disappointment. Almost like, I respect my opponent, but feel like I should have won. Amazing. I'm not entitled to any success. Easy to distort the truth. See it as more than it is, like I'm being targeted, punished. Outside of specific instances from other players, it's not true. The computer player can't even let me have blank. It does not factor mercy. More games should IMO, LOL, but maybe I'm just bad. It's something that I, have struggled with since I was a kid, is difficulty in video games, and we grew up with a Nintendo Entertainment System. They weren't exactly easy. Zelda 2 was my first Zelda game. And so I do think that there's something to be said for difficulty options, accessibility. And in the case of this, I think I'm talking about like a card game or something. And like sometimes, computer players will just make the best moves that they can with what they have. And if you're not also doing that, then you'll just lose without even knowing why, or, it can feel ruthless. It could feel very unfair because like they're playing at a much higher level than you. If you're a smart person and thinking about it, you're like, oh, well, it's just code doing what the code has been told to do. But if you're just into the game, you might take it personally. You might feel offended when the game is mean to you. Lashing out at the other players, even as a joke, maybe don't. Respect them for playing with you, enabling the game to even take place. No pressure, no anger, gentle correction. Do your best with love. The more you gain, the more you lose. It's all alone. Obviously I'm using the game analogy now to apply to life. The more you gain, the more you will lose. You don't get to keep anything forever. You might keep it till you die. Most things you don't even keep that long. People come and go unpredictably. They are living things. They are complicated things. Things that you think are intrinsically yours or have always been yours. Your own body parts, your hair, your skin, your teeth. It's not yours. I mean, it's yours, but like, you don't control it. You can't make it last forever. You can't keep it forever. Our cells age, die, and so do we. And it's trying to remind me to take a step back and look at the big picture. Remember to be nice to other people because they're basically in the same boat as me, even if our situations are very different. Just the fact that we're both humans on this planet gives us a lot in common. As much as other people can piss you off when they get in your way or when it feels like they're preventing you from meeting your goals, they're living people. Like, I don't know. They don't want to pretend that human life is like the most important thing in the universe. We don't know that. But like, how do you not feel sympathy for other just living things that can think like you can? Because any pain that you can feel, so can they, even if they don't feel it the same way. Like, how do you not understand that they're struggling? Part of the problem might be that, with the information overload as our world came online, we suddenly had access to a ton of experiences, whether real or not, And just the sheer volume of that can make it feel like, oh, it can desensitize you to everything. We might have desensitized ourselves to the human experience just by overloading ourselves with all this information. And I don't know if there was any way we could have prevented that. I mean, we had to become self-aware at some point, right? Now seems like a good time. But I don't know. All that stuff's just speculation. The point is, appreciate what you have. It won't last forever. And even, even the shitty things, like, they won't last forever. So enjoy what you can while you got them. That said, you don't have to stand for abuse. It's better just to not have some things and some people in your life, if that's how they're going to be. If they were better, I'd want to be with them. Maybe someday, I never want to give up hope, but I also don't want to pin my hopes on something that seems very unlikely. Anger is a message. Stop what you are doing or I will hurt you. Fear is a message. Stop what you are doing or you will hurt me. Sadness/crying is a message. I am hurt. Please help. If you don't need to send these messages, don't dwell on those feelings. The intensity of the feeling is to help you communicate with others. I was basically flashing all my lights in my panic, and it worked. I got the pushback I needed. I scared my loved ones. I hurt my loved ones. Uh-oh. And so that's talking about, like, my behavior during the time when I was, like, having my house with my friends and all that stuff. Flashing all my warning lights, that was me lashing out at them, basically trying to make it very clear that, like, I'm not okay and I need help. And, like, they already knew that. Like, I was just making things worse. And eventually, like I wrote, I did get the pushback that I needed, when the situation with my friends didn't work out, and I had to think about how I had treated them and how our friendship had come to that stage. And that's when I realized, I was being like my parents. I scared my loved ones and I hurt my loved ones, and I wouldn't even let them tell me about it. I am both the disapproving parent and the disappointed child. Always unhappy with the outcome, always crying and blaming myself and others, looking for excuses to flash the lights. How do I appreciate the setbacks? They frustrate me. It hurts to be kept from who or what I love. But those things, those people aren't mine. They're animals, just like me. They don't owe me anything, and no matter how close we get, we will one day separate again. Every day is different, even when they feel the same. How greed chokes life, our very planet. How do I feel less pressure when every decision, the way I act, could be the most important? Balance is hard. As a kid, I'd just make something up and stop worrying about it. I want to be better. I want to make it work. I don't want to settle for easy answers. I don't want to settle for, he's probably some magic man in the sky. I don't want to settle for, I guess I just fucked up and don't deserve happiness. Like, that's not right. Not in the way that it happened, anyway. I think most of my analytical nature is a defense mechanism. By understanding how things happen and what exactly went wrong, we can prevent it happening again. But we can't see everything coming, and that's scary. I'm more comfortable overanalyzing things, and I put over in quotes there because I don't even know if that's possible. It makes me feel safer, except when I still can't find an answer or people won't listen. My expectations are too high. They're low, but that's still unrealistically high. I am lucky. That's scary. I'm scared all the time because there's so many problems, and sometimes it feels like nobody's trying to fix them. Other times they're trying, but just can't. And either way, it casts a hopeless doom over everything that laughs menacingly at me when people say they can't see it. Oh, I might need to take that sentence again. And either way, it casts a hopeless doom over everything that laughs menacingly at me when people say they can't see it. I think that sentence is a little fucked, but I understand what I mean. The doom is laughing. I think that's where I get confused, is it's not something doom typically does. Laughing menacingly. Very poetic. Ooh. I guess ever since I've had two primary goals. Make life better, keep it from getting worse. Kind of the same goal. Keeping what you have is really just getting to enjoy that another day. It could end any day, any reason. So embrace the nature of our ephemerality. Worry not about making forever bonds. Focus on the only time we know we've got together. Now. I have seen much and will see much more, I hope. People who need more help than I. I'm still scared. I feel a lot of pressure. It's important to me because I love them, but they're not mine. Ooh. Here I wrote, they're God's. He'll take them when he wants. It might be ugly. We can like it or not. It won't change. Feels like giving up. Fight to the death to save your loved ones. So I don't see any hint of irony here. I just said they're God's. I think I might have still been a little not, I think I still hadn't fully figured out it's their beliefs that make them terrible people. Until, our conversations just kept escalating. I think I tend to save my best for life's best. I don't want to put time and effort into making connections with people if I'm just going to move, for example. Even though I did again and again. I want to remain in my current comforting funk until Uncle Friend rescues me. But he's got his own problems. I believe we'll get back together this year, but maybe not. And I'm now leaning more toward probably not, unfortunately. But, I hope things are going well there. I don't really know. I'll find out someday, probably. I don't know when or what it will be like. I'm scared the things I'll waste time and effort on won't transfer to whatever new life I end up with. But, this stuff, here it is. So some of it does. I think part of me is always waiting for my life to find a rhythm and just go on its own, carrying me to endless happy days up and up and up. But it doesn't work like that. What is my life's work? What am I here for? The short-term pleasure-seeking does not move me forward. Life is not about my gratification. And then under that I wrote, it sort of is. We just keep changing what gratifies me. Because that's a biological thing. Am I too selfish to dedicate myself to others? Am I still taking too much and giving too little? Yes, but circumstances is what I wrote. Because, I don't think, I think I could be doing more for people. I think I'd like to, but it's hard to from here and in this world. For now, I'm content with this kind of content. I feel like this is the most direct way I can address the problems that have been plaguing me. I don't know whether people will watch or not. I don't know how many, if any, I'll help, but that is the goal. How do I recalibrate? Looking for the balance. I want to wait for Uncle Friend. What else can I do? Buy a headset, start talking to people, go back to my shitty apartment, parentheses, please no. Get a new shitty apartment, parentheses, only if I must. It'd be a lot easier if I was still out at Granny's, but that's what I get for drinking instead of figuring this out sooner, right? Or is that too punishing? It's complicated. I'm not going to start my big projects or shakeups right now. So what will I do while I wait? Because at this time I was still I had no hopes, no prospects, and was kind of hoping if that guy doesn't, get back to me and let me come back over and, chill out, be happy at his place, I got nothing. I sat down and kept thinking about it and eventually led me here. I started at the top of this page. I wrote Erised, desire backwards, from Harry Potter. Even though it comes from a place of love, desire can be a dangerous thing, an endless well of disappointment. When you say, I wish blank was blank, part of you asks, why can't it be? And you have to face the disappointment again. It doesn't go away. Try not to spend too much time at that well. Look for wells of inspiration, goodness. I'm always practicing conversations in my head, but my wants shape the responses. They're unrealistic. So I practice getting as much attention and encouragement as I want and how I want it, and I create unreasonable expectations from myself that lead to frustration and disappointment when real people, quotes, let me down. And I think that's a pretty big thing to realize. I like to think of it as, I practice conversations in my head. That'll make it easier to talk to real people. And sometimes it does, But really, the part that you should practice is the sentences that you want to say, because finding the words and putting them in the right order, those are skills that get better with practice. You never know what the other person is going to say. So you almost got to be ready for any kind of response, It's not necessarily going to even be on topic, right? So you got to be ready to adapt, and you got to just have all these pieces ready to go, ready to make whatever shape you need, basically. And so, yeah, I was practicing conversations in my head. The people in my head were much nicer than the people in real life. And when the people in real life weren't the same as the people in my head, I thought that they were disappointing me. I thought that they were letting me down. I thought it meant that they didn't like me as much as the people in my head should. And this is referring to my friends. My parents actually did let me down, and that's where the confusion came in, is I was putting the expectations that my parents gave me from when I was a child of what they told me love is, but not how they treated me. And I did the same things to my friends and acted like it was the other way around. How do I stop that? So many bad habits. I'm so staggeringly selfish. Such ego, such greed, vanity. Can I practice objectively? Probably not. Productively? Maybe. In practice, I just mean do whatever it is I'm doing. And I was probably called it practice at this particular time because and even now, I feel like this is kind of my recovery stage. I've retreated here, I'm regrouping here, I'm looking at what happened, I'm licking my wounds, but I'm also gearing up, getting ready to go back out to the world at some point. And, I don't know what I'm going to do, but we'll see. I hope that doesn't sound like a threat. I meant I don't know what I'm going to do professionally, with my, efforts, not I don't know what I'm going to do, capital building. No, I don't think that's the solution. Okay. I think that education, fixing minds is the way forward. And that's really hard. Don't know how we're going to do it. Don't know if we can. It might be too late, but I think it's worth a shot. It still hits me, it still hurts, but this time I didn't let the cry for help get very far, and now that the alarm is done, I'm glad it didn't spread. I still blame myself somewhat. I feel like because my love for them was so strong, it should have kept us together. If only it worked like that. Life isn't fair. I'll always be disappointed, losing more and more. It's not very appealing. Generally speaking, the tighter you try to hold on to something, the more likely you are to lose it. The more you try to force things so that the one, goal works, the more damage you do, and the more things just fall completely apart because you end up breaking something that was integral to the situation. I sure hope Uncle Friend and the others take me back. Without them, I feel so disconnected I don't want to go on. Just me and my pain, alone forever. And that's where I was feeling, hopeless. If they don't take me back, I might just die. But having had time and distance and, making the videos that I have, having the conversations that I've had, I don't know. There's got to be something I could do. I'm not entirely hopeless, and my ex has been a huge help. And the people here just treating me like a person. It's very refreshing. I want to help more people, and I have thoughts about oh, maybe I should be a substitute teacher or something where I can go and help ideally younger people, because I feel like they don't get enough people talking to them. They don't get enough attention. And I think it's very easy for them to kind of hide from their parents. And I think they're incentivized to hide from their parents. So much pressure is put on them. But I really don't know. I also wonder, I don't know that I'm stable enough to do something like that yet. I don't want to play games with people's futures. I don't want to play games with people's lives. But I do believe in the value of the truth, and I do think that that's what's going to help us, and I'd like to try to share it with as many people as possible. Find containers for the sadness, poems, songs, drawings, spend my whole life pouring it out. In this journal, some of that. Smashed my Switch controller, bad day. And then there's arrows pointing to a few indentations that were hammered into the notebook. Smashing my Switch Pro controller onto it. Probably no permanent damage. Uncle Friend won't read my text. That hurts so much. guess he really needs that space. And it's like emotional space, like personal space. And yeah, his mom died. He needed personal space. As much as it sucks for me, his mom died. Like, I can't fault the man. Like, and that's why I wasn't, well, I didn't need to be. I was gonna say I wasn't nearly as like persistent with him as I was with my parents, but that's because he was always honest with me. Well, he's more honest than them. He actually apologized. Like, he admitted, like, it's not the way I wanted things to go, and I understand that he's in grieving, he's in mourning, and I don't want to say, well, you got to make space for me. I told him I understand and I love you, and it hurts, but that's the way it is. It's okay. Well, I don't know if I said it's okay, because I don't know if it is okay, but I don't want him to feel guilty. I don't think that what he did was unreasonably cruel or anything like that. I think he just got carried away by his own emotions and let me feel things that gave me the wrong impression, I think. And maybe I did the same to him without even realizing. That's the problem with just not communicating enough. I am increasingly afraid that if I don't hear back from him, or if I'm not welcome back to Granny's, that suicide is my best option. Now I'm pushing another friend away too, because he can't help either. I'll tell my therapist to cancel our appointment. We've done what we can, nothing more to do. I won't tell her the truth, of course. I'll let her believe I might come back. I still talk to my therapist a little bit. Like, I'm not getting sessions anymore, but I have sent her a couple status updates. She did what she could. Like, I don't, like, oh, if you were getting therapy, how is all this still going on? And it's like, because it was hard to talk to her. And like, she had a lot of the context, but not all of it. And a lot of our time was spent just trying to get her caught up, get her up to speed, correcting her assumptions and misunderstandings of my story. And by the time we actually got to talking about my problems, like, I could talk to myself at that level. Like, I don't want to say that she wasn't providing value. She was good to talk to. At this point, it felt like I was either going to get rescued by my friend or kill myself. And I didn't see any other options, or like, I didn't see a reason to do anything else. Like, I didn't want more pain. I wanted an end to the pain. And I thought, either friend rescues me or I'll end it myself. And, the reason I say things like I wouldn't tell my therapist the truth, of course, is because, she might try to stop me. She might not understand, probably wouldn't. Yeah, like, I never want someone to stop me from killing myself if I want to do it. So far, I haven't actually made an attempt. I've just thought about it a lot. And this year, I think, is the closest that I got to considering, like, doing something. And I guess last year with the helium tank thing that I mentioned. Oh shit, it looks like there's actually some of this in here. So I think I'll keep reading and talk more about this in a second. I'll let her believe I might come back. Carbon monoxide sounds easy as hell. Helium might work too. I don't want pain. I want an easy passing. Relief. Sleep. Then nothing. I don't know where, when, or with what. I don't know what I'll write in the note, but I plan on leaving a note. Explain it all again, even though they still won't understand. Apologize again, even though it's their fault. Find something to leave them with. A lesson from all this. And so, like, that was my plan. Well, that was a plan I was considering. Was, and this is the most, I've ever, like, thought about killing myself, was when I was writing this stuff. And, I'm gonna tell you what I thought. I'm going into detail now about these thoughts. And, I don't think anyone's really ready to hear kind of that level of hopelessness, but it's what I felt, and I'm gonna relay what I was thinking about. I thought that it would be really nice to lay down in a tub, get comfortable, tank of helium next to the tub, like a mask. You know, I actually didn't get all of the details. I read an article about it, and like, but you know, basically in my fantasy, put the mask on, turn on the valve, lean back, close my eyes, and just pass out. And from what I understand, it would take like seconds, and then I wouldn't wake up. And I had the thought that if there's any kind of final moments, you know, flashing before my eyes kind of thing, or visions of heaven and hell when I'm dying like that, I thought that I would find myself at the school pavilion where I grew up, and that my 3 best friends would be there, and that they'd all be happy to see me, and that we'd, you know, have a happy reunion and then carry on like I was never taken from them. And it shattered me to think about, because on the one hand, that would make me so happy, but that's not real. It would make me happy, and I would go out, you know, feeling, I don't even know, you know, I can only guess. But I knew that, you know, even if I, quote, saw my friends and they were all happy to see me, that's not them. That's just my memory, and that's just my wishes. That's just what I want. The truth is, they're adults now, and we've been apart too long, and they, you know, they've got their own lives, and I've got my own smoldering ruins to tend to, and it's just not gonna work. I don't think we're ever gonna really get back together. I can't get the life that I had as a kid. I can't be that happy again. I can't be that person again. I'm different now. And that was a really big step. You know, I had to let myself explore that in my head. I had to see, is that what I want? Is that really what I want? It's not. It's really not. And that's why I've never made an attempt. I don't want to die. It just seems like the best option sometimes because things are so terrible. But I'm broadening my mind. I'm seeing more possibilities, and I'm, you know, I'm hopeless in some ways, but like not completely. And that might be enough. That might just be enough to get me through the rest of my life, you know. What more can I ask for? And if I'm going to be sticking around, I want to do it right. I want to do it better, and I don't want to hurt people, and I don't want to hurt myself. It's just so hard. It's so hard. I'll see if I can get through this section. And yeah, I talked about leaving a note, and I didn't go into that in my fantasy, but ideally I would have written something so, you know, direct and undeniable that it would have revelations on, you know, it would give my parents revelations about the way they treated me and completely change them and the world, and everyone would suddenly be, you know, so much better, and, you know, wow, his suicide changed everything for the better. Good job killing yourself, champ. That was the right call. Like, that's what I wanted, basically, was for it to be the right thing if it's what I was going to do. But, you know, thinking about it, they wouldn't read the note, let alone believe it. They'd just throw it in the trash. I can't trust a note. I can't trust these people. I gotta be here to set the record straight as long as I can, as clearly as I can, as much as I can. And they still won't believe me. But someone might. And someone might be able to learn something from it, and someone might be able to save someone like me from something similar. That's all I can hope for, really, is that some good comes out of all of this. Sometimes it doesn't matter what you do. Sometimes the whole world will select you for failure, loss. It will pretend to help you while it drinks your blood and fucks your wounds. Sorry for that mental image. It is an ugly, filthy thing, and I want rid of it. Am I talking about the whole world there, or my life? I'm not entirely sure. I think I'm talking about the world. I don't actually believe it's an ugly, filthy thing, at least not entirely. I believe there are ugly, filthy parts, and I believe people especially are the worst thing on the planet. But, you know, it's not hopeless. And there are beautiful parts, even amongst all the grime and awful things. And on this page I wrote, "Stop telling me about my life. I'll tell you. There is at most one more shot." And that's not true. "I have no home or family. I am alone and miserable as I've been for 20 years. And I added here, likely, will die that way, and if that's the case, the sooner the better. Please stop dragging this out. Please stop making me live in pain." But, you know, that's the limited perspective. Still acting like I'm under my parents' roof and that I have to make them happy or live the way that they wanted me to. They're not making me live in pain anymore. They did a lot of damage that fucked me up for a long time, but they're not here now. They can't stop me from getting better. And though they can deny the truth, they can't change it. There is at most one more shot. That's how it felt to me. Of course, you know, you never know whether you're going to get another shot or not, or whether there will be more after that. What even is one shot? How do you measure it? Am I taking a shot right now by putting all this stuff out? Was I taking a shot when I reached out to my parents? How many shots are we up to now? Have I taken any at all? It's kind of meaningless. The point was that I was, you know, feeling hopeless. I felt that there was no way out. I felt that there was no option. This page says, please. Says a lot of please. We got some pleases and some other things all the way down. I did write all of these words, so I guess I'll read them. But if it's too obnoxious, I'm going to cut this up to ribbon. And don't expect me to get the count exactly right, but I will do my best. I vaguely remember writing this. It's hard to, you know, something that specific. It's just like, I didn't know what else to do. I was very frustrated and like hurting. And so I was like, how do I get it out? I don't know. This is what I'm going to do. So I wrote, please, 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 please. And then I went all caps. Please, 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 please. Please, 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 please. And then there's just kind of like a please, like a squiggly one. Please, 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 make it fucking stop. Please, 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 make, please. Make? What did I say? Oh, it says please. I actually thought it said something different because my, you know, some of these pleases are very frantic. But no. Not to inject any comedy into my suicide journal, but that word also is please, like the words around it. Let's see. Let me just skip to the next part. Please, please, please. It's been wrong all along, and it hurt the whole time, and I tried to stop it, and it won't stop, and nobody can stop it. Please, 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 stop the pain. Please, 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 please. I can't handle it. Please, it's too much. Please, 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 please. It hurts too much. That was a bad day. Uncle Friend is my last hope. But I must have upset him terribly. I hope I hear back from him soon. I don't know how much more of this I can take. Please, please. I'm so scared. It hurts so much. Please, 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 please. No one else can stop it. The person who can won't. So no one can stop it. Just trying to survive long enough to get some reply, but it will probably be another stall, another delay, another, please continue waiting in agony. My life is in the balance. Please, 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 please. And so, yeah, I'm begging my friend to respond to me. Not to him, because I know that that would bother him, and I know that he's grieving his mother. But this is what's going on in my head is like, oh, God, if that guy doesn't respond to me or, like, you know, help me, I don't see anything else that I can do. Like, I saw it as my only chance, and, like, it's not. You know, it's not fair to put that on them. They're not even my family, realistically, you know, biologically. I would love for them to be my family again. I would love to go live with them again, but I don't know that I'll get the chance. Sucks. But moving on. That's what this is all about. One day at a time, I guess. But I'm worried I won't be able to go back to work. If I lose this one and I am still hopeless, I don't think I'll get another job. I'll give all my money to charity and a friend and my editors, because at the time I think I was still this was around the time I was like, all right, I can't, you know, do my gaming stuff anymore. And other friends. I was gonna give all my money to charity and my friends, and I'll start preparing. And when the time is right, I'll go. And finally be fucking free. Dead and free. And under that I wrote, please. Like a very happy please. And then there's just a blank page. I no longer wish to be dead. It might be better than being alive. I don't know, never been. I have a friend who had a near-death experience where, like, was dead and got revived, and they said that it was just black and terrifying. So I don't know if that's just them or the way that they were incapacitated or what. I have a little bit more hope that, you know, I'll get something shiny and, like, a distraction to take my mind off the fact that I am dying, that kind of thing, but who knows? It's not something it's not something I look forward to. The death itself especially, although an end to suffering is nice, you know, who doesn't like that sense of relief? But the thing is, when you're dead, you don't actually get to feel the relief. You're not there anymore. At least as far as we know. So the top of this page says in parentheses, practice drafts. And I've got some, it's basically a suicide note draft. But, you know, like it says, it's practice, and I didn't end up using it. I don't plan on using it, so I'm sharing it here. I'm going to read what it says and then tell you how I feel about it now. To Dad, I hope your illustrious blank career was worth your middle child's life. To Mom, I trusted you to protect me, and you did the opposite. You decided to care again too little too late. Because, like, there was a point when I was talking to her about all this where it seemed like she was kind of getting it, but, like, not. I think she was just bullshitting me to, like, placate me, because she does that. To everyone who knows they'll die alone, there's always room here. I don't like that. Don't let life push you around. I can agree with that. I love you. I miss my friends. Goodbye. And then sign my name. So yeah, that part I really don't like. To everyone who knows they'll die alone, there's always room here. Like, in the suicide tub. Like, no. Come on, man. Don't drag others down with you. I think the best, you know, thing I can assume I was going for with that, or was in my mind when I wrote that, is that if enough people killed themselves for this reason, maybe it would send society some kind of message. But we actually have cases in, you know, America of, like, suicide rashes of, like, you know, it'll happen in towns where, like, groups of people, children usually, like teenagers at school, will just start killing themselves. And, like, oh, one person killed themselves, and now, like, everyone's like, yeah, that's probably the right call. And then they start doing it too. And, like, I don't think it actually helps. I don't think anyone learns from that. I think the kids are just gone and everyone says, dang, that's tragic. Well, keep making schools shittier because money. Like, they don't care. Human lives are expendable to them. And that's a huge problem. And, like, you know, I don't want to encourage anybody to kill themselves. I also don't want to say that it's never the right move. I think that in their very extreme situations, it can be. But I do agree with don't let life push you around. And like, if you were in the extreme example of someone was like, hell, had you captive and was like torturing you daily or like forcing you to do bad things to other people, like it might be better to kill yourself. I don't know. It's very hard to say. But the tone of this whole draft was just very, you know, vindictive and kind of like, it wouldn't have done anything, because this is basically what the kind of messages that I've been emailing and texting them, and they just like, you know, pretending that it's not abuse, pretending that they did protect me when they were actually like doing the damage, and they're still doing it. Like, it's insane. It's really insane. On the next page, I'm not sure if this is part of the note or not. It says, trust is gone, love is wasted. Fuck you, 3 underlines, for taking me from my friends. Fuck you, 5 underlines, for ruining my life. See you in hell. Big letters. Talked to her. I think it means mom. It helped. A friend offered me a pork chop. Oh yeah, one of the people here had made some food and shared with me. It was great. And I put a little like face, like a neutral face with like a little teardrop next to it, like, you know, the simple offering of the pork chop had moved me. It had, you know, people do care, you know, people aren't all just heartless monsters. Even if it's just little stuff like that, you know, it helps ground me back down and into reality. Finally smoked, drank, ate. I scared my friends again. I scared me too. I think I want to live, but I'm having so much trouble. I still do have good friends. What do I have to hide from them? They've seen me like this. Killing myself is tempting, but I have friends, people who care. I've hurt them already, and my family. I'm scared. I can't stop lashing out. Even if this passes and I'm back or whatever, I'm wrong here. I hurt people. And that's, yeah, something I'll just have to live with. I'm not proud of all of my actions and the way that I've acted, especially toward my friends. I'm still not yet sorry for the way I've acted toward my parents, because they're still not yet sorry for the fact, for abusing me. But, you know, that's for them. It's not for anyone else. I gotta remember that. And then I wrote myself a note. Mike, you are loved. Stop treating everyone like the enemy. You have friends. Love them. Love yourself for them. Just take all that pain and turn it into love. And that's a quote from Fire, Kimya Dawson's Fire. It's a wonderful message. It's the best way to deal with pain, to find a way to invert it, if possible. Find a way to take all that hurt and, I don't even know, like, apply it somehow to make things better. Like, it's what I'm doing, but I don't know how to describe it. Using that pain as fuel almost. Like, it's hard. Again, it's about balance, because we don't want to focus solely on pain or become obsessed with pain and make it all about, you know, like getting vengeance for this pain, you know, like with the pain that my parents have put me through and still aren't acknowledging. I don't want to spend all of my time, and I don't want to harass them at all. I want to, like, talk to them, and I don't want to spend all of my time trying to talk to them if they're just not going to talk. So I have to find some other thing I can do to address the pain, because the pain, and this might sound weird, the pain doesn't want to be forgotten. The pain doesn't want me to pretend it's not there anymore. The pain doesn't want me to dismiss it and to say, you know, well, you'll just have to, you know, just let that one go. It's let everything go. It's let too many things go, and it's done. And the pain is out of patience, and it's pushing me to put this message out there and to share my feelings, good and bad, and the truth of my experience as best as I can. Honesty. Use your brains. That's all it takes. That's all. Don't always just get carried away. Always just start putting your own bullshit on top of it. Can we do that? Reroute incoming pain, even just partially, to outgoing love? Sure, sure. Love has many inputs and outputs, the universal conduit. How do I do it? I miss my past friends, that's the pain. I should love my current friends. There you go. Carry on their ideas, their passions. And that's some of the stuff I've been watching. I guess I didn't even think about it, but like I was watching a lot of the Corridor Crew videos about their VFX stuff, and it reminds me of, me and my friend making our little Lego movies, and it's got me playing around in Blender a little bit, but I'm still really terrible. I can hardly do anything. But it's cool, it's fun, and it's exciting, and I want to get into more of that, because stuff like Blender is free, is open, and like anyone can use it, and like some of the things that you can do with it are insane. It just takes time and patience. And if you can, spend some time and patience and make something that makes people happy or entertains them or share something with them, like, that's great. I wish we could spend more resources doing just that kind of stuff instead of raping the planet. But sometimes they go hand in hand because our entertainment is so excessively wasteful. But, we'll have to address the biggest problems first. And it's hard to do things in the right order. It's hard to prioritize when there are so many problems. I lost my good clan, my home, sense of belonging. Bring that with you. Make everyone feel like they belong. The thing is, it's really fucking hard to do when you're alone and you don't feel like you belong. It still hurts an awful lot. Look to love. How? Just be a friend. Just friends. I'm scared. People don't want me. People assume the worst. I do too. I don't want to let them down. I guess it's inevitable. Stop making them worry. But I'm worried. How do you start to make things better when everyone's in the habit of making things worse, including you? It's like you can't lift them up and they can't lift you up. You all just keep pushing each other down. I definitely had to get away and do some thinking. And, I did. And then I was ready. And that's when I went back to Granny's. And then things just went too bad too fast. Because I would have loved to have been talking about all of this stuff with the people there. And now I don't know if or when I'll see them again. Things can change very quickly. No one can help. No one can talk to Uncle Friend for me. Maybe other friend, but I feel like that'd be a step too far. I didn't want to start prodding other family members to bother him on my behalf. I don't want to intrude. He asked for space. He can respond when he's ready. So I have to wait. It might be months. I have to find something to cling to. Connections. But I'm hiding. I am sorry, so sorry. My friends, all of my friends. I am too weak. I am too scared. Too hurt. Sorry, 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 sorry. I have friends. I hope they don't hate me. I hope that I can make it up to them. And I'm still hoping to do that someday. I've talked to them just a little bit, but, everyone's under a lot of stress right now. There's a lot going on. I just have to accept that, this is where I'm at right now, and whether or not we'll have anything in the future, we've had some good times together, and they made me a better person. This journal is ripe for the picking. I'd like to distill my recovery/recalibration process down to a series of statements I can repeat when I am having an episode. Don't know what it'll be yet. Am I doing this by myself just so I can take all the credit and be right all along, in quotes? I like to think it's just better, more efficient to do it yourself the old-fashioned way. Less wasted resources, but I will feel silly if I miss something. And I think there I'm talking about, this process of not exactly isolating myself, but kind of isolating myself, but with friends around, and writing in this journal and, doing my own digging as opposed to going to counselors and therapists and taking antidepressants. Because to me, all of that actually distracts from the problem, because there is a real problem. I might not always have it right. I might not always be, have my sights on it, have the right target, I guess. Like, I don't want to move away from it. I want to track it and like figure out where it is, and if possible, fix the problem, help the problem. Love, focus on love. And then I wrote pain, but then I put a little arrow pointing to love. Fuck, this is hard. Going to take a lot of reflection. I'd like to avoid another episode. Mom's had enough. My opinion, not hers, is what I wrote there. And like, I'm trying really hard in here to justify, like, no, I'm being too mean to her. I'm being too mean. She hasn't said that. And it's like, it's not mean to tell people the truth. It is mean to deny abuse. Subject 1 out of 5 has been a sad one. An early twist, so much pain. Because I had no idea I was going to get kicked out when I bought the journal. I thought, I'd be writing in it at Granny's. Trying to turn it into love. Trying. It's hard. It hurts. So many people pushed away and I can't stop. So much lashing out. Things change fast. I need to change faster. I was ready for some. Not all this. Never ready enough. Hurts. Wish it could be different. Scaring my friends. Had to stop. Mom knows how I feel. Now, be kind to her. She probably does really want what's best for me. Probably. Better luck next subject. Yeah, turns out she does not. She does not care about me. And then I tried to sum up each of these subjects with the benefit of hindsight. And so on this page, I just wrote reflection, referring to the subject that we just closed. Next time, we'll be taking a look at anger. Okay, so that's one of the 5 subjects. We are 20% through the notebook. Is it too much? Is it too intense? I don't know. I hope not. I hope it's just what it is, it's real feelings that I had, whether they were right or wrong and whether they are healthy or unhealthy. I'm just sharing them with you and what I think of them now. It's up to you to make your own decisions. None of us know the truth. We all have flawed senses and processes to detect the truth, and that's the best we can do. So, thank you for watching this very personal dive into my life. It does mean something to me that, you made it to this point. Like, I don't want to initiate a parasocial relationship based on that. I like the idea of talking to my viewers sometimes, but then I think about it and I'm like, oh man, that'd just be too cringe. Like, if I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? Like, like you're actually in the room with me. Like, I don't know. That stuff doesn't work for me because, like, I'm clearly not responsive to you. I'm clearly just, doing my own thing and assuming that you'll have a good time with it, which is, like, weird to me. I don't like that. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know how long it's going to take to get through the rest of this. And, I'm not sure if I'll go through all the remaining subjects or Bible chapters or, what my content's going to look like going forward. Making it up as I go. The goal is just to share truth. Look for truth together. And, encourage what I think is good and can help the world, which is figuring out how to turn pain into love, which is easier said than done. So thank you again for watching, really. I do love you, and I hope that you have a good day, and take care of yourself.